Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales. Chapter 48-54. To be honest, Kang Xinmu didn't know much about Su Yi, but he had a rough idea of her personality. Based on Su Ye's personality, her goal in this arena battle might really be to become the champion. This was the attitude of a true god's favored one. Who knows, she might really become the champion. Kang Xinmu thought it was funny. If Su Yi really wanted to challenge the champion of the 9th level of the Martial Emperor stage, it wouldn't be right for Kang Xinmu not to challenge her. Although Su Yi had broken through to the 7th level of the Martial Emperor stage in one go, to Kang Xinmu, it wasn't much different. This was because Su Ye's strength hadn't been consolidated after her breakthrough. Compared to Kang Xinmu, her strength was not much different. Su Ye's strength was at most 10 to 20% higher than Kang Xinmu's, so it didn't matter much. Of course, in the arena battle, she would consolidate her strength 3 times, so her speed would be faster than Kang Xinmu's. However, Kang Xinmu had the heaven-deficient ice and fire demonic dragon's ability to devour time. In this case, Su Yi wouldn't be able to consolidate her strength as fast as Kang Xinmu, right? In any case, the arena battle was about to begin. Kang Xinmu wasn't particularly excited about the start of the arena battle. After all, he couldn't go into the arena right away. However, the people around him were very excited. Little White, Ran Ran, Xiao Yuhua, and Liang Xiao were currently in a rather agitated mood. At the same time, they were also a little dispirited and dejected. After all, they were originally on the same level as Jiang Shenwu, but from the looks of it, Jiang Shenwu was already far ahead of them. Level 9 Martial Emperor Stage. This was the peak of the Dragon Emperor stage. It was equivalent to the strongest Dragon Emperor instructor. If he was stronger than this, he would have reached the level of a super divine dragon. He might even have the strength to become the Dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Therefore, for Kang Xinmu to participate in such an arena battle, his level was definitely not something that ordinary people could imagine. Even though Xiao Bai and Ran Ran had always known how powerful Kang Xinmu was, they didn't expect that Kang Xinmu would improve so fast. With such a terrifying speed, he had completely surpassed them. Of course, it still depended on Kang Xinmu's performance in this arena battle. If his performance was good, then it would be amazing. If he didn't perform well. To be honest, even if he didn't perform well, it would be excusable. But for others, it would undoubtedly be seen as Kang Xinmu overestimating himself. In particular, the Demon God clan had a royal demonic cultivator called Su Yi. If the two sides were compared, if Kang Xinmu's performance was not as good as Su Ye's, it would be a slap in the face to the Dragon God clan. This Su Yi is from the royal family of the Demon God clan. The Demon God clan only has one royal family, and that is the Su clan. That's right. Su Yi has the support of the entire Demon God clan. The cultivation resources she has are not something that Kang Xinmu can compare with. However, after Kang Xinmu received the 9 layers engraved Heaven and Earth Sacred Grade reward, he also has a lot of cultivation resources. The key is that he still lacks some accumulation. In terms of cultivation time, Kang Xinmu's cultivation time is not even half of Su Ye's. No, it's not even a third. Emperor Shi's mystical dragon and Qing Tian's calamity dragon were laughing and discussing secretly. However, they were in a relaxed mood. No matter how Kang Xinmu performed, the Dragon God clan had already gained a lot this time. After all, in the last round of the arena battles, Kang Xinmu's performance was too good, and the other students of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy also performed very well. No matter what, even if the Dragon martial artists who performed well had nothing to do with Donghuang Yangwu College, Qing Tian's Calamity Dragon was still very happy. After all, in the eyes of the top 10 clans, the Dragon God clan was the Dragon God clan, and it had nothing to do with the students. For the Dragon God clan, they could all obtain more cultivation resources, especially since Kang Xinmu had occupied the arena for almost 3 days. This was the record for the longest period of time. For the Dragon God clan, this was a lot of resources, and the value of this was immeasurable. Next, it was time to see the arena battles of the 9th layer of the Imperial stage. In this arena battle, the Dragon God clan also sent out many strong cultivators. For example, the chief instructor of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, Shangguan Dai, and Shangguan Dai, was not the only one. There were a total of 7 to 8 9th layer Imperial stage instructors in Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, and Shangguan Dai, was the one who was the most favored. In addition to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, the other 3 academies also sent several 9th layer Imperial stage experts to participate in the battle. In Donghuang Yangwu College, there were 2 talented Dragon Emperor instructors, Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua. Originally, Qing Tian's Calamity Dragon was very optimistic about the 2 of them, and because of this, when Zhuo Xiaofan was in the position, he did not dare to do anything to the 2 of them, and they completely dared to disobey some of Zhuo Xiaofang's orders. Including the 2 disciples of Dragon Emperor instructors, they also dared to disobey Zhuo Xiaofang's orders and directly befriend Kang Xinmu, such as Qin Xiaoya and Zhu Wudi, and so on. All this was because Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua's combat strength was extremely strong, and they were extremely talented. The 2 Dragon Emperor instructors were at the peak of the 9th layer of the Imperial stage. There was even a period of time when they participated in the exploration of middle-level relics, and they even had above-middle-level gains. At that time, they did not have such peak combat strength as they did now. One could imagine that Chu Yueqiang and Tan Shouzhua were the trump cards sent by Donghuang Yangwu College. It was not clear who was stronger between the 2 of them and Shangguan Dai, but at least they were at the same level. In addition, the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy and the Southern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy also had 1 or 2 powerful Dragon Emperor instructors. In terms of this level, the Dragon Emperor Kingdom's Dragon Emperor Kingdom in the Dragon Martial Continent had not reached this level. Even Great Liang's Dragon Emperor, who was considered one of the strongest Dragon Emperor Kingdom's Dragon Emperor Kingdom, was still ranked outside the 200th on the Dragon Emperor list of the Dragon Martial Fortress. Now that everyone had become stronger, it was mainly because there were many old fellows in the hidden Dragon Martial clan. These old fellows might not be very talented, but their cultivation realm was at the 9th layer of the Imperial stage, and they had been at this level for a long time. The Dragon Martial techniques they cultivated had reached at least the Saint stage. After all, it depended on one's comprehension ability and power of comprehension. It couldn't be achieved by relying on time. However, if a martial saint-level Dragon Martial skill were to burst out, it wouldn't be something that most of the younger generation could resist. The old fellows of the hidden Dragon Martial clan could be considered a major combat strength of the Dragon God clan, and they could not be underestimated. Chapter 48-55. The Martial Dragon Continent Small World, where the top 10 clans held the Martial Dragon Continent's 9th layer arena battle, had finally begun. Following the Supreme Expert's order, many 9th-level Martial Emperor experts immediately flew up from the 16 arenas in the center. The 9th-level Martial Emperor experts from the various clans all entered the arena excitedly. After all, it was relatively rare to see a joint event like this arena battle. Although it was held in the Martial Dragon Continent Small World, it still attracted many experts from the various clans. After all, there weren't many such events, and the most important thing was that there were many rewards for this event. As long as a 9th layer Martial Emperor expert had some ability, they would want to try their luck. Of course, there were also some top experts who planned to fight for a higher ranking in the arena battle and obtain a more satisfactory reward. Once they obtained first place in this arena battle, they would be able to obtain cultivation resources equivalent to 100,000 gold dragon coins as a reward. It would be difficult to obtain such a generous reward even if they were to explore a mid-level relic. For example, when Kang Xinmu explored a low-level relic, most of the ordinary dragon martial artists only obtained a few ice or fire hexagonal crystals. If these crystals were converted into gold dragon coins, they would only be worth about 5,000 gold dragon coins. Moreover, it was already good enough for them to obtain 1 or 2 hexagonal crystals. If they wanted to obtain more, they would need to be stronger and have better luck. Therefore, cultivation resources worth 100,000 gold dragon coins was definitely an extremely tempting amount of wealth. That was why it attracted experts from the various clans. In fact, it wasn't that these experts wanted to come, it was that they couldn't resist the temptation. The various clans had spread the news of this arena battle. Therefore, almost all the 9th layer martial emperor experts from the various clans who were free and nearby would rush over. Therefore, the experts from the various clans who had gathered here now accounted for at least 1/3 of the 9th layer martial emperor experts from the various clans. Naturally, there were many terrifying existences among them. Kang Xinmu didn't go up the arena immediately. Similarly, Suyi from the Demon God clan didn't go up immediately. After all, they were now the target of public criticism. Once they went up, they would definitely be attacked by the experts. Therefore, they only had 3 chances. They challenged those in the ring who looked weaker or felt that they were on par with them. This way, they could constantly improve themselves in battle and constantly consolidate the power they had just obtained after breaking through. This kind of improvement was very fast. In fact, if they encountered a life or death crisis, their hidden power that had not been consolidated would be stimulated at the fastest speed, and it would be equivalent to being under their own control. Therefore, they only had 3 chances. Everyone had 3 chances to challenge the arena. After 3 chances were used up, they would no longer be qualified to challenge the arena. Therefore, they had to grow to a level where they could contend against other 9th layer Emperor Realm cultivators before the 3rd challenge. This goal could be said to be extremely difficult. At the very least, it wasn't easy for Kang Xinmu to achieve this. It wasn't easy for Suyi either. This was because as long as they succeeded in the first challenge, it was very likely that an expert would come to deal with them in the next round, not giving them a chance to grow. Therefore, after they succeeded in the first challenge, they would most likely fail the next time they were challenged. After they succeeded in the second challenge, it might not be so certain. However, they would still fail in the end because their battle strength would definitely not reach the peak of 9th layer Emperor Realm. There would definitely be powerful existences from other clans who would come to snipe them. However, after the 3rd challenge, they would only choose opponents that they could defeat. This way, they would have 3 chances to improve themselves. After the 3rd breakthrough, they would face the most serious challenge. It was very likely that they would be attacked by people who would take turns to wear them down, but it was also possible that the strongest 9th layer Emperor Realm expert would directly attack and defeat them. No matter what, they absolutely could not let the 2 of them become the champion of this arena battle. They could not even let them get a ranking. This was the arena battle of 9th layer Emperor Realm experts. If they let 2 6th layer and 7th layer Emperor Realm experts get a ranking, wouldn't the other clans, except for the Dragon Gods and the Demon Gods, lose face? In any case, no matter what, the other clans would definitely not let Kang Xinmu and Suyi go to the end as they wished. During this period of time, there would be many difficulties. They had to use their true strength to achieve results. Kang Xinmu began to observe carefully. On the other side, Suyi was also observing carefully. As for Emperor Shi's mystical dragon, he narrowed his eyes and inadvertently glanced at the demon god spectator stands. It seemed that at this moment, he had some kind of communication with the demon gods. As for what kind of communication it was, Kang Xinmu naturally did not know. In fact, he did not even notice it. He only knew that he would soon decide to go on the stage. In the 9th layer Emperor Realm arena battle, the various clans' cultivators who appeared were clearly much stronger than the 4th layer Emperor Realm arena battle cultivators from before. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they were 10 times stronger. Even if it was Jiang Shenwu and Su Yi at that time, these two champions of the 4th layer Emperor level arena battles, they still weren't a match for these 9th layer Emperor level practitioners. Of course, both Kang Xinmu and Su Yi had already cultivated and improved their strength. So, if they were to fight in the 4th layer Emperor Realm arena battle, they would still be able to crush their opponents. They would not even need to use their full strength. However, with their current enhanced combat strength, they might not be able to withstand the 9th level of the Emperor Grade Arena battle. Finally, Kang Xinmu found an arena. On this arena, there was a strong fighter from the ancient Phoenix clan and a strong fighter from the Void Human clan. Both sides were fighting fiercely. It was obvious that both sides were evenly matched. However, to Kang Xinmu, neither side was particularly strong. This was their chance. They just had to wait for one of them to be defeated and thrown out of the arena. Then, Kang Xinmu planned to directly rush into the arena and challenge the one who won. This made Kang Xinmu immediately prepare to set off. Of course, from the outside, he only looked like he had transformed into a pitch-black mystical dragon and was leisurely flying in the direction of the arena. Moreover, he was not heading in the direction of the ancient Phoenix clan and the Void Human clan's arena battle. It looked as if he was aimlessly flying. At the same time, the talented girl from the Demon God clan, Su Yi, also transformed into a pitch-black 16-winged heavenly demon. She set off from the spectator stands and slowly flew towards the 16 arenas. Chapter 48-58. Kang Xinmu didn't try to guess which arena Su Yi had set her eyes on. No matter what, since he had set his eyes on that arena, he had to win it. This was his first opportunity to improve. Therefore, in order to prevent Su Yi from setting her eyes on the same arena as him, he recalled the time when Su Yi had barged into his arena. At that time, Kang Xinmu didn't notice anyone approaching his arena at all. By the time he reacted, Su Yi was already in his arena. It was obvious that Su Yi either had some kind of concealment technique or possessed an extremely terrifying speed that was not inferior to his void travel. This was because Kang Xinmu didn't notice her approaching at all. Therefore, her speed was absolutely terrifying. Therefore, Kang Xinmu had to be on guard against this move. He glanced at the 16-winged heavenly demon god's body that was approaching the 16 arenas in the distance. Then, the corners of his lips curled up. He suddenly void travel and appeared in front of the 16-winged heavenly demon god's body. Su Yi, which arena have you set your eyes on? Kang Xinmu pretended to ask casually. Su Yi didn't expect Kang Xinmu to directly run in front of her and ask her directly. Wasn't this too rude? However, Su Yi pursed her lips and smiled. What about you? Which arena have you set your eyes on? Don't tell me we've set our eyes on the same arena. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them moved almost at the same time. This was because at that moment, the Void Human Tribe Powerhouse summoned the Void God Totem on the arena that Kang Xinmu had set his eyes on. It directly trapped the ancient Phoenix Tribe Powerhouse in the void and blasted him out of the arena through the void. The Void Human Tribe Powerhouse consumed a lot of energy because of this. However, this also meant that the ancient Phoenix Tribe Powerhouse had been defeated. This Void Human Tribe Powerhouse temporarily became the champion of this arena. Next, the surrounding cultivators could enter the arena and challenge this Void Human Tribe Powerhouse. Obviously, Kang Xinmu and Su Yi had set their eyes on this arena. It was the same arena. After all, among the 16 arenas, only this arena would be the one where both sides were evenly matched. Moreover, this was the only arena that was about to end. Since both parties set off at the same time, there was a high chance that they were eyeing the same arena. Both sides moved at almost the same time. Kang Shinmu moved with the power of space. At the same time, he sensed that the 16-winged sky demon god was also shuttling through space in an attempt to appear on the stage. As expected, he also has a strong understanding of the void energy. Kang Shinmu finally understood Suyi a little better. But this time, he was definitely a cut above the rest. Because, when he traveled through the void and appeared in front of Suyi in a flash, he didn't actually appear directly. Instead, he appeared once at the edge of the arena. He traveled through the void twice. However, there was almost no gap between the two trips, so Suyi didn't notice it. Because of this, Kang Shinmu had already left a spot at the edge of the arena. When he traveled through the void again to that spot, his speed would definitely be many times faster than before. Therefore, when Suye's 16-winged sky demon god traveled through space and appeared next to the arena almost instantly, Kang Shinmu had already stepped onto the arena and became the next opponent to challenge this void human tribe powerhouse. What? You? Suyi was shocked. She didn't expect that she would lose to Kang Shinmu. She knew that Kang Shinmu's understanding of the void energy was quite high, but she didn't expect it to be this high. Of course, she now understood what Kang Shinmu had just done. He pretended to travel through the void to greet her, but in reality, he had left a mark at the edge of the arena. Wasn't this too scheming? You're too shameless. Suyi couldn't believe it. This Kang Shinmu looked like a hot-blooded and honest person, but he actually thought of such a cunning way to snatch the arena. This was simply. Suyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Humph. Isn't it just an arena? I'll let you have it first. Even if you let this guy practice, you won't be able to surpass me. Suyi snorted softly, but she didn't dwell on it too much. She directly floated outside the arena and began to observe the battle on the arena. In reality, Kang Shinmu had already stopped paying attention to Suyi the moment he arrived on the arena. This was because his arrival on the arena meant that his battle had already begun. There was no need for the Supreme Powerhouse to give the order. He was likely to face the opponent's attack. However, the Void Human Tribe Powerhouse had just thrown his opponent, the Ancient Phoenix Tribe, out of the arena. Now, he was on the verge of losing his strength, so this guy was still resting. When his opponent appeared, the Void Human Tribe Powerhouse's expression changed. However, when he discovered that his opponent was Kang Shinmu, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. He was a level 9 Emperor stage powerhouse. What was there to be afraid of when he encountered this level 6 Emperor stage Kang Shinmu? He glanced outside the arena from the corner of his eyes. Suyi, who had almost entered the arena, felt that he was quite lucky. In his eyes, Suyi was a much greater threat to him than Kang Shinmu. After all, he was a level 7 Demon Emperor, while the other was a level 6 Dragon Emperor. There was a difference in the quality of the inherited blood essence by one level, so there would definitely be a huge difference in combat strength. Dealing with Kang Shinmu would definitely be much easier than dealing with Suyi, right? Of course, even if Suyi entered the arena, he would still be more relaxed. After all, Suyi was only a level 7 Demon Emperor, 2 levels away from the level 9. This gap of 2 levels was huge. Most importantly, the two sides were different in age. This virtual human tribe powerhouse looked like a middle-aged man. There was a black mole below his nose, and he looked quite honest. Based on the aura he emitted, this middle-aged man was probably close to 100 years old. At such a young age, his understanding of various combat weapons and martial techniques was definitely far superior to the cultivators of the younger generation. So what if he was a genius? Therefore, this virtual human tribe powerhouse stroked his beard and smiled at Kang Shinmu. Little brother Kang Shinmu from the Dragon God's tribe, you chose me as your opponent. Does that mean that you think I'm not as good as you? Or do you think I'm easy to bully? No, it's just that you just fought with a senior from the ancient Phoenix tribe. It seems like you've consumed a lot of energy, so I chose you. Kang Xinmu was more polite as he said this with a smile. At this moment, there was an empty god totem covering the body of the middle-aged virtual human tribe. This empty god totem was translucent and covered his blue-robed figure. This empty god totem was thousands of feet tall, and there were many light blue void tentacles swaying in the surrounding void. This was the appearance of an ordinary empty god totem. Chapter 48-59. After all, the grade of Kang Xinmu's divine dragon inheritance blood essence was 3 levels lower than his opponent's. The middle-aged man stroked his beard and smiled as he asked Kang Xinmu, your comprehension of virtual power is pretty good. Even I feel a little inferior to you. Just now, you recorded the marks at the edge of the arena, right? This kind of method really makes people gasp in amazement. You flatter me, you flatter me. Kang Xinmu smiled. Suddenly, he changed the topic and asked, however, Senior, you've told me so much. How are you recovering? If you're almost recovered, I'll make the first move. The middle-aged man was puzzled when he heard this. Kang Xinmu, just let me rest a little longer, how about that? Anyway, you're no match for me. Even if you fight me while I'm exhausted, you still won't be a match for me. As compensation, if I can obtain a ranking, I'll give you 1/10 of the cultivation resources as a reward. How about that? Senior, you're still trying to buy time. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. Kang Xinmu smiled. He completely ignored the other party's suggestion of 1/10 of the cultivation resources as compensation. This was simply a waste of time. Firstly, this middle-aged man from the virtual human tribe was really not strong enough to obtain a ranking in this arena battle. Otherwise, why would Kang Xinmu look for him first? Secondly, even if this fellow really obtained a ranking, why would he really give Kang Xinmu 1/10 of the cultivation resources as a reward? Kang Xinmu did not even know his name. Moreover, this was a deal between the two tribes. If he said it so openly, it would not be credible. He was just buying time. Moreover, why would Kang Xinmu be interested in 1/10 of the cultivation resources? He did not lack cultivation resources at all. He wanted to train and nurture himself in this arena battle between the top 10 tribes. He wanted to consolidate his strength that had just broken through to a certain extent. It would be best if all of them were consolidated, therefore, Kang Xinmu wouldn't let go of any opportunity. All the opponents on the 9th floor of the Emperor-class arena were extremely strong. Therefore, Kang Xinmu wouldn't go easy on them. When he first entered the arena, he did not attack immediately. Instead, he chatted with the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe for a while because he was preparing something. This wasn't his first time fighting against a powerful being from the Void Human tribe, nor was it his first time fighting an opponent at the 9th level of the martial monarch realm. First of all, he was certain that this middle-aged Void Human tribe powerful being's comprehension of the power of Void was not inferior to his own. He might even be stronger than Shengguan Dyer, because Shengguan Dyer was only a member of the dragon god race. She had cultivated some void movement technique dragon-like martial techniques such as the wind shadow flowing cloud flash. However, the Void Human tribe cultivators cultivated the power of void, which was their source of power. In fact, their inheritance contained a profound understanding of void power, which allowed them to use void power far better than cultivators of other races. Therefore, Kang Xinmu didn't intend to waste any more time talking to his opponent. He merely secretly sensed the situation in the void around him. Sure enough, he discovered that there were signs of power condensing in the 3 voids around him. This middle-aged man said that he wanted to recover more power, but in reality, he was already preparing to attack. Just as Kang Xinmu said, "I'm not going to stand on ceremony," the power in the 3 voids around him suddenly exploded. This was the explosive power of a 9th-level martial monarch. It was the strongest vibration of the power of void. This was a terrifying attack that belonged to a peak martial monarch. Therefore, even though Kang Xinmu was prepared for this attack, he didn't intend to underestimate it. When the power in the three voids exploded and formed three void storms that enveloped Kang Xinmu's black dragon body, his devouring power swept out from all over his body. He wouldn't have been able to do this in a hurry. However, he was prepared now. Therefore, he had already condensed the devouring power in the three voids, condensed it into a pitch-black beam of light, and blasted it directly into the three void storms. Because Kang Xinmu had been prepared, the other party's void storms had just erupted when the devouring power had condensed and erupted. They were far from reaching their maximum power. Therefore, even though Kang Xinmu's devouring power beam didn't use any dragon techniques to condense and strengthen it, it still blasted open the eye of the three void storms. Then, the devouring power continued to devour the power of the void storms that had been blasted open. Kang Xinmu's devouring power was his strongest power. However, he had used it right from the start because he needed to devour the power of space to strengthen his defense. The Void human tribe powerhouse in front of him relied on the power of Void to attack and defend. Therefore, once Kang Xinmu's resistance to the power of Void reached a certain level, he could completely suppress the other party. Now, although Kang Xinmu's divine dragon tyrant body technique hadn't reached the supreme sage stage, it was already around the sage stage. When he switched to his defensive stance, his defense had reached an extremely terrifying level. Now, even if he was attacked by Shangguan Dai, Er's flaming dragon martial technique without using her dragon weapon, he could directly resist it. Therefore, as long as Kang Xinmu devoured some of his opponent's power of Void and strengthened his own resistance to it, he would be completely invincible in this arena battle, and this was probably something that not many people present knew. During the arena battle on the fourth floor of the Emperor stage, Kang Xinmu didn't need to display this ability at all to crush all his opponents. Fortunately, Suyi didn't really fight with him. Otherwise, Kang Xinmu might have revealed this ability. But now, he might be able to finish this match without anyone noticing this characteristic of his. After all, this ability of his was too hidden. Even supreme powerhouses couldn't discover it. After he devoured the power of Void, all the changes in the black dragon body within his body happened within his body. His resistance to the power of Void was also a complete internal change. There was no difference on the surface. Therefore, Kang Xinmu directly used this ability. The power of the three void storms was directly shattered by Kang Xinmu's devouring power. Then, the power was directly devoured by Kang Xinmu. The middle-aged Void human tribe man didn't expect his method to be seen through by Kang Xinmu in advance. Kang Xinmu, it seems that your perception of the power of Void is very strong. It seems that sneak attacks won't be able to defeat you. In that case, I can only attack forcefully. Chapter 4860. The middle-aged man from the Void human tribe unleashed his power. Boundless Void power gathered around his Void God totem. He was using some kind of high-level Void God skill. Moreover, Jiang Shenwu could feel that the level of his opponent's Nihility God martial technique was extremely high. It was likely that he had already cultivated it to the level of a saint. It actually caused the surrounding Void to distort, condensing into a distorted Void river. If this distorted Void river were to sweep over, Jiang Shenwu would definitely not be able to withstand it. In fact, the appearance of this distorted Void river had even emitted a terrifying aura, directly sealing off the entire space above the arena. This was an absolute seal. Kang Xinmu's understanding of Void power could not compare to this fellow. Therefore, Kang Xinmu could not break through this sealed Void and use Void travel to avoid his opponent's attack. The wind shadow flowing flash was completely ineffective against his opponent's Void seal. However, Kang Xinmu could keenly sense that this fellow did not use his Void power weapon. Perhaps it was because he was arrogant? However, it could also be because of his pride. As a powerful peak emperor-level existence, his pride made him want to defeat Kang Shinmu without using his void power weapon. Otherwise, if he had to use all his power to defeat Kang Shinmu, wouldn't he be laughed at by others? That would be too embarrassing. One had to know that Kang Shinmu was only at level 6 emperor level. This level of inherited blood essence was something that a peak emperor-level existence like him had to use his void power weapon to deal with. This was too weak. Therefore, this fellow did not use his void power weapon. This was Kang Shinmu's chance. Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique. Guardian Stance. Kang Shinmu knew that this was the time for him to use all his power. Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal. Activate. A golden Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal, a heaven-level divine dragon weapon, finally appeared around Jiang Shenwu's pitch-black divine dragon body. Furthermore, it emitted an incomparably tyrannical golden light, which fused into the black innate defensive power around him. The Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique's defensive stance. The 1,200 defensive runes of the Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal were completely activated. The explosive defensive ability, coupled with Kang Shinmu's devouring power, could completely block the opponent's attack. Sure enough, the Void River swept over, distorting the space in its path. But when it hit the black dragon body that Kang Shinmu was in, the black devouring defensive power around him actually resisted the blue Void River. With a loud bang, there was a loud explosion. The black dragon that Kang Shinmu was in unleashed a wave of void tremors, which spread out into the surroundings. The entire space above the arena began to tremble. Spatial ripples continued to explode in all directions, but Kang Shinmu's black dragon body was completely unscathed by this attack. It didn't even budge. What a terrifying defensive ability. This scene shocked everyone in the surroundings. How powerful. The first 3 void storms might have just been a probing attack from the Void Human Tribe powerhouse. However, to the Void Human Tribe powerhouse, if the first attack failed, there was no way he would let Kang Shinmu withstand a second attack. Therefore, apart from not using the void weapon, he had basically used all his strength in his second attack. However, such an attack was actually blocked by Kang Shinmu head-on. That heaven-grade divine dragon weapon seems to have been illuminated. That's right, and it was illuminated by the most powerful heaven-shocking gem. The 800 defensive runes on it directly unleashed the effect of 1,200 defensive runes. Even if this kid has just obtained this divine dragon weapon, it's equivalent to increasing his defense by 6 times. This is too terrifying. No, this kid's compatibility with the divine dragon weapon is not bad. He can unleash 70% of its effect, which is more than 8 times his defense. Such a scene caused the expressions of the surrounding experts who were paying attention to the battle in the arena to change drastically. The defensive ability of Kang Shinmu's Great Compassion Sky Dragon Mark, this heaven-grade divine dragon weapon, was simply too strong. Of course, this Great Compassion Sky Dragon Mark was purely a defensive weapon. Kang Shinmu had never used it before, so no one knew that he actually possessed such a strong defensive ability. Of course, just relying on such a strong defensive ability was not enough. A heaven-grade divine dragon weapon could not directly allow a level 6 martial emperor to directly block the attack of a peak martial emperor from the Void Human Tribe. Most importantly, Kang Shinmu's own defensive ability was too strong. This Great Compassion Sky Dragon Mark only amplified Kang Shinmu's own defensive ability. If Kang Shinmu's own defense wasn't strong, the effect of this Great Compassion Sky Dragon Mark would not have been so impressive. Most importantly, Kang Shinmu's own defensive ability was too strong. The various body-tempering dragon-type martial techniques, coupled with the defensive stance of the Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique, made Kang Shinmu's Divine Dragon Body the strongest among all the cultivators at this stage. Even the demon god tribe bloodline powerhouses who focused on improving their physical bodies might not be as strong as Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. This was the strength of the divine dragon tyrant body technique. The body-tempering dragon-type martial technique that Kang Shinmu cultivated finally shone in the arena battle of the 10 major tribes. However, he did not relax because of this. Currently, Kang Shinmu was floating above the arena, still enduring the attack of his opponent's distorted Void River. However, the devouring power had already enveloped the Void River and started to devour its power. His opponent was probably going to use the Void Energy weapon next, right? Kang Shinmu thought to himself. However, this was all according to his plan. If his opponent used the Void Energy weapon and launched another attack like this, the destructive power would probably be several times stronger. However, Kang Shinmu still had a way to resist his opponent's attack head-on. That was because, after Kang Shinmu devoured the opponent's distorted Void River attack, his black dragon body's resistance against the Void attribute power had become even stronger. However, the devouring speed had to be fast. As expected, the middle-aged man from the Void human tribe did not hesitate for too long when he saw that Kang Shinmu had withstood this attack. The middle-aged man stroked his beard, and the translucent virtual god totem on his body shone with blue light again. At the same time, a blue gemstone containing boundless power of nothingness silently appeared in front of the virtual god totem. Chapter 4861. Activate the Phantom Weapon. The most powerful phantom weapon of the Void human tribe was a heaven-grade phantom weapon. Kang Shinmu also had such a weapon, so he was very clear about how powerful it was in enhancing the use of the power of the Void. It was precisely because he understood his opponent that Kang Shinmu could accurately estimate and confirm the degree of attack he could defend against. No matter what, Kang Shinmu's defensive ability had reached its peak. He had swallowed his opponent's distorted Void River, so his ability to resist the power of the Void had reached its peak. Moreover, he was purely relying on his physical body to resist the attack. The key now was to resist his opponent's attack. Because his opponent had just fought against a powerhouse from the ancient Phoenix tribe, he did not have much strength left. Furthermore, his opponent had not shown any means to quickly recover his strength. Even if he had taken some kind of recovery elixir in advance, he would not be able to use a similar attack again. Therefore, as long as Kang Shinmu resisted this attack, it would be Kang Shinmu's home ground. At this moment, everyone was nervously watching Kang Shinmu's arena. It could be said that among the 16 arenas, Kang Shinmu's arena was the one that received the most attention. No matter what, the fact that Kang Shinmu was able to fight against that Void human tribe powerhouse to this extent was already extremely shocking. But at this moment, everyone felt that Kang Shinmu should not have any chance of resisting his opponent's attack. He's going to use the phantom weapon. Sigh, wouldn't it have been better if he had used it earlier? That's right. If he had used the phantom weapon earlier, Kang Shinmu would have been forced off the stage. He wouldn't have had to watch him strut around in the arena. This feeling is really unbearable. The dragon gods have produced such a genius. It would be the funniest thing if he died in the arena. I think this old fellow from the Void human tribe wants to kill Kang Shinmu directly in the arena, right? I think that's also possible. However, it is unexpected that Kang Shinmu can resist such a powerful attack. Many people shook their heads. The Void human tribe didn't expect Kang Shinmu's defense to be so powerful. If he used his trump card now, Kang Shinmu would probably surrender. In the eyes of many people, Kang Shinmu was about to admit defeat. This was because the Void human tribe middle-aged man was about to use his specter weapon. That was a top-notch specter weapon. Moreover, this Void human tribe middle-aged man was not young. His coordination with the specter weapon had already reached an extremely high level. In this way, if they launched an attack, Kang Shinmu would definitely have no chance of survival. If Kang Shinmu admitted defeat, wouldn't he lose a chance to kill Kang Shinmu? This made many people sigh in regret. However, as time passed, many people were still a little surprised. Kang Xinmu didn't surrender. Instead, he seemed to be on guard against the Void Human Tribe middle-aged man. Could it be that this lad still wanted to take the next attack head-on? This scene surprised the Void Human Tribe middle-aged man. As he gathered his strength, he activated the attack pattern in the blue gemstone. He calmly asked Kang Xinmu from the Dragon Gods, "Are you really not going to surrender? Are you going to take this attack of mine? You know that I don't want to be enemies with the Dragon Gods." If he killed Kang Xinmu, then the Dragon Gods would definitely view him as an enemy. In the future, it might not be easy or convenient to deal with him. However, if he could kill Kang Xinmu, then he would definitely do so if he notified him in advance. This meant that he would kill a possible enemy in the future. What if one day, they entered a middle-level relic together? According to the current speed of Kang Xinmu's growth, this was really too fast. In the future, when he entered a middle-level relic, he really might not be a match for Kang Xinmu. Therefore, if he could kill him now, of course, it was better to kill him as soon as possible. Moreover, if he notified him in advance, in the future in public, the Dragon Gods would not be able to use this reason to target him. This was the safest way. If he killed him directly, it was hard to say how the Dragon Gods would react. However, to his surprise, Kang Xinmu didn't respond to his question at all. It was as if he didn't hear him at all. He still maintained his previous defensive posture and continued to activate the power of the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal. Kang Xinmu maintained his strongest defensive power at all times. In fact, at this time, even if he withstood that kind of impact 10 or 20 times in a row, he wouldn't be injured at all. Even if the opponent's next attack was 10 times stronger, Kang Xinmu still wouldn't die. This was because he had already swallowed more than half of the power of the twisting Void River. His own defense against the power of the Void had reached the extreme of the extreme. When the opponent's power hit Kang Xinmu's divine dragon body, it could only exert less than 10% of its power. Seeing that Kang Xinmu was indifferent, the middle-aged man from the virtual human tribe sneered in his heart. However, on the surface, he shook his head with some pity. Then, the blue gemstone in front of his virtual god totem suddenly erupted with blue light. These light rays pierced through the void, like the sharpest knife cutting through the void. Then, these sharp knives directly swept toward Kang Xinmu. The blue void knives enveloped Kang Xinmu's black dragon body like raindrops. Golden light exploded, and the dark devouring power suddenly swept out. The blue void knives directly penetrated the golden light defense of the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal, then landed on the dark devouring power barrier of Kang Xinmu, and finally penetrated Kang Xinmu's black dragon body. If Kang Xinmu hadn't displayed his defensive posture, it was very likely that this move would have directly killed Kang Xinmu. But now, Kang Xinmu was in his strongest defensive form. Moreover, he had already swallowed the power of the void twice to increase his own resistance. Therefore, in the face of this virtual human tribe powerhouse's strongest attack, Kang Xinmu actually didn't die. Although the blue void knives had pierced through his body a few times, these holes quickly healed, and he was not fatally injured at all. In fact, even if the opponent had used the void weapon to attack Kang Xinmu previously, Kang Xinmu would not have died. He would only have been more seriously injured. Obviously, this middle-aged man from the virtual human tribe had now lost the possibility of killing Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu was very clear about this, but he still showed the blood splattering from his black dragon body. This was to confuse the opponent and make him mistakenly think that he was already seriously injured. Chapter 4862. At that moment, Kang Xinmu looked like he was seriously injured. His opponent's blue void blade had pierced through his body. It seemed like Kang Xinmu would not be able to withstand another attack from his opponent. The middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe did not know the extent of Kang Shinmu's defense. He was now using his top-notch phantom weapon. Coupled with his own top-notch power, how could he not be able to defeat Kang Shinmu? This was too illogical. Therefore, the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe did not think that he would not be a match for Kang Shinmu. His empty god totem once again erupted with powerful void power. The void power condensed into a storm that swept towards the place where Jiang Shenwu's black dragon body was located. The sky was filled with void power. The distorted void power kept pressing down, making Kang Shinmu feel like he was in the center of a huge storm. However, his black dragon body did not move at all. The golden defensive light of the Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal continued to shine, blocking the void power storm around him. However, there was still a lot of void power that invaded Kang Shinmu's divine dragon body. It seemed like Kang Shinmu was getting more and more injured. Of course, in reality, Kang Shinmu would not be injured in this kind of attack at all. He did not attack his opponent now because his opponent's power had not been completely depleted. Before entering the arena, his opponent had taken a restorative pill, so his power was still slowly recovering. Therefore, if Kang Shinmu attacked now, it was very likely that his opponent would block it. After all, Kang Shinmu's offensive dragon weapon, the Phantom Ghost Book, was not a purely defensive dragon weapon like the Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal. Instead, it was a sneak attack. Sneak attacks would still be known by others. Therefore, this kind of sneak attack would not be very effective against his opponent. After all, his opponent's understanding of void power was still very terrifying. How could Kang Shinmu succeed in a sneak attack using void power? However, Kang Shinmu was not worried. After all, he was already in an undefeatable position. Now, with the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal, his own devouring power, and the enhancement of his draconic body refining technique, he could survive the indiscriminate bombardment of opponents of this level. Not only that, he could even emerge unscathed. Although he was injured at the start, he could devour his opponent's energy to recover from his injuries. The opponent's attack did not last for long. The middle-aged Void Human tribe man's power was almost depleted. However, at the same time, in his eyes, Kang Shinmu's black dragon body was already soaked with bright red dragon blood. He looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. Therefore, he smiled and said, "Kang Shinmu, you're almost at your limit. I didn't expect you to be able to endure this kind of attack. It's not easy." Initially, he wanted to use all his power to kill Kang Shinmu. However, he did not expect Kang Shinmu to be so resilient. Kang Shinmu was able to withstand the full force of his attack. Of course, in his eyes, Kang Shinmu was already seriously injured and could not withstand any more attacks. However, as soon as he said this, Kang Shinmu's laughter could be heard from the arena. "You're out of energy, aren't you? Then it's my turn to attack. You." Kang Shinmu. The middle-aged Void Human tribe man did not expect Kang Shinmu to be able to speak. This was too strange, wasn't it? Moreover, this voice did not sound like it was injured at all. He immediately became alert. However, Kang Shinmu did not give him the time to be alert. Before he knew it, the heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's power had already spread to the entire arena. Then, it devoured time. Around the empty god totem formed by the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe, all the time in the area was devoured by Jiang Shenwu, and then converted into his own time according to a certain ratio. In this way, the middle-aged Void Human tribe man had lost half an incense stick of time. In this half an incense stick of time, Kang Shinmu had converted almost 500 times of time. This was because the middle-aged Void Human tribe man's cultivation base was higher than Kang Shinmu's. Therefore, the conversion rate of the devoured time was higher. In this half an incense stick of time, Kang Shinmu had converted almost 500 times of time. This meant that Kang Xinmu had gained an extra 5 days of time. The power of these 5 days encircled him. He could use these 5 days to cultivate and improve himself. The most important thing was to consolidate the power that he had yet to fully grasp after his breakthrough. Kang Xinmu did not take advantage of this opportunity to attack his opponent. After all, he was completely confident that he would win if he attacked his opponent in this state. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. Even if he only had a little bit of time left to attack, his opponent would definitely lose. Of course, this method sounded invincible, but in reality, Jiang Shenwu had to take advantage of the fact that the other party had lost their strength to use it. Otherwise, the other party would be able to defend against it at any time. Kang Xinmu also needed to consume a lot of the heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's power to devour time. The heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's power was a power that could be recovered by Kang Xinmu, but it took a long time to recover. In short, he could only use this technique once in an arena battle. The recovery rate of the heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's power was not very fast. Therefore, he could not use it in every arena battle. Of course, after this successful devouring, he would have 5 days to recover. Therefore, this was enough for him to continue using this technique in the next arena battle. It could be said to be a virtuous cycle. At this moment, Kang Xinmu began to consolidate his power. 5 days to him was only half an incense stick of time to the outside world. Outside the arena, Suyi from the demon god tribe looked at Kang Xinmu nervously. He observed the changes in his black dragon body and was surprised to find that Kang Xinmu's aura had risen rapidly in this short period of time. Moreover, during this time, Kang Xinmu's speed seemed to have become extremely terrifying. Suyi found that Kang Xinmu's black dragon body was moving in that area, but she could not see Kang Xinmu's movements at all. Nonsense, Kang Xinmu was now in a time acceleration of 500 times. What kind of observation skills would it take to see Kang Xinmu's movements clearly? Moreover, Kang Xinmu's speed was already very fast. Unfortunately, this technique could only be used on a target. He had to devour his opponent's time to transform it into his own. Otherwise, Kang Xinmu's ability would be heaven-defying. Chapter 4863. From another perspective, there was no need for Kang Xinmu to use this method of devouring time against a weaker opponent. When facing a level 4 martial emperor, the conversion rate of my devouring time is about 100 times. Now, when facing a level 9 martial emperor, the conversion rate of my devouring time is 500 times. According to my speculation, the increase in the conversion rate is multiplied according to the opponent's strength. In that case, if I were to face a Super Shenron, the conversion rate of my devouring time would probably be 1000 times. The time it takes to burn a stick of incense is equivalent to about 20 days. How powerful would I be if I used this time to cultivate? Kang Xinmu could not help but be tempted. This ability was too terrifying. However, an opponent at the level of a Super Shenron was not easy to deal with. Unless he encountered an enemy supreme god who was severely injured, he would not be able to use this technique. Of course, even if he were to face a level 9 martial emperor, the conversion rate of his devouring time was still very good. With a conversion rate of 500 times, he could use the time it takes to burn a stick of incense as 10 days. This was already quite an impressive method. For Kang Xinmu, entering an intermediate relic would be the fastest time for him to improve. He could continuously devour other people's time and transform it into his own time, so that he could cultivate and improve through the devouring time. Of course, this was just Kang Xinmu's idea. It would not be so easy to make it a reality. At this moment, he had experienced about 5 days, which directly allowed him to consolidate about 10% of his strength that had increased a while ago. This allowed his overall combat strength to increase by about 10%. After all, The consolidation of this part of his strength allowed the strength that he used to coordinate with all the strength that he possessed. This allowed him to unleash his full strength. 5 days later. To the outside world, only half an incense's time had passed. Kang Shinmu's black dragon body suddenly moved. In the area where the flow of time had changed due to the devouring, no one could see Kang Shinmu's black dragon body clearly. Even supreme powerhouses could not see the situation clearly. However, when Kang Shinmu left the region of time he was in and arrived in front of the middle-aged virtual human tribe man whose time had been devoured, time returned to normal. 9th Stage Extreme Dao Dragon Explosion. Phantom Ghost Book. Kang Shinmu finally used his strongest move. At this time, the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe had yet to recover much of his strength, so he had no way of defending himself. Kang Shinmu's eightfold flood dragon burst followed the power of the Voidwalker ghost scripture and exploded around his opponent's Void God totem, directly shattering it. In the eyes of the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe, all he saw was a blur before Kang Shinmu's attack appeared in front of him. In fact, his memory stopped at the time when he was talking to Kang Shinmu. His time was swallowed by Kang Shinmu. In other words, he had lost this part of his time. Therefore, he had no idea what had happened during that period of time. The heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire was truly terrifying. It was not a power that the powerhouses of the various races could control. It was a unique inherited ability, and the heavenly deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire didn't exist at the moment. Therefore, Kang Shinmu's ability was simply unique. At this moment, the Void Human tribe man's Void God totem was directly shattered by the eightfold flood dragon burst. This also announced the middle-aged man's defeat in this arena battle. In the storm, his body and the remains of the Void God totem were blasted out of the arena. Kang Shinmu won. At this moment, all the surrounding cultivators from the various races were watching the arena solemnly. The abilities that Jiang Shenwu had displayed in this battle were truly terrifying. Although his final attack had returned to its normal speed when it reached the middle-aged man from the Void Human tribe and was no longer 500 times faster than after devouring time, this was still enough to shock everyone. If this kind of technique was used in a war between races, how powerful would it be? Even if the time he swallowed wasn't used by himself, wouldn't it be invincible if it was used by someone more powerful? Imagine a situation where there was a supreme powerhouse on both sides leading the other powerhouses to charge at them. Under such circumstances, Kang Shinmu would appear and swallow the time of a supreme powerhouse of the same level. Then, he would use the time he swallowed to envelop the entire battlefield. This way, the powerhouses of the dragon gods would have more time to maneuver and respond. The supreme powerhouse could even fight 1 or 2 opponents at the same level, or they could prepare some even more terrifying techniques, such as a 9-fold engraved heaven and earth holy grade, and so on. This was a strategic level ability. At this stage, Kang Shinmu was only using it for his own cultivation. However, if there was a war in the future, no one knew what effect this ability of Kang Shinmu's would have. This is the power of the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of fire and ice. How could this kid have it? Our tribe once obtained the skeleton of the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of fire and ice's inheritor. We wanted to obtain this ability from it, but we never succeeded. I don't know. This Kang Shinmu seems to have some special techniques. These special techniques might even be more powerful than the inheritance of the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of fire and ice. All the surrounding cultivators were in an uproar. Even the supreme powerhouses were extremely shocked. They looked at Kang Shinmu with an unusual look in their eyes. If possible, they would definitely think of a way to get rid of Kang Shinmu. However, it was more likely that they wanted to obtain this technique of Kang Shinmu's. On the side of the demon gods, there were 2 supreme powerhouses. Seeing this, they laughed out loud. The demon gods had picked up a treasure. It seemed that the demon gods could indeed cooperate with the dragon gods. Moreover, this Kang Shinmu's identity was quite special, very special to the demon gods. It was unexpected that they could find such a special genius. For the demon gods, this was of great strategic significance. Of course, no matter how shocked and conflicted the people outside were, the 9th level of the Emperor stage continued. Chapter 48-64. This expert from the demon god race was not Suyi, but another young man from the demon god race. This young man was also at the 9th level of the Emperor realm. He didn't look too weak, but he wasn't very strong either. However, his understanding of the ethereal force wasn't weak either. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to appear in the arena. There were many people around who were eyeing Kang Shinmu covetously. As soon as this young man appeared, he smiled at Kang Shinmu. "Kang Shinmu, let me fight you." Although this was what he said, Kang Shinmu felt that this guy's purpose in appearing in his arena was not so simple. In short, Kang Shinmu had spent 5 days consolidating his strength. Therefore, his current combat strength had increased by about 10% compared to the last time he fought in the arena. This gave him enough confidence no matter what kind of opponent he faced. Even if this young man from the demon god race was extremely strong, Kang Shinmu did not need to be afraid. At most, he would just admit defeat and step down from the arena. Anyway, this was only the first chance. Kang Shinmu's original plan was to use this chance to devour an opponent's time to improve himself. This way, after 3 times, his strength would basically be completely consolidated. Therefore, even if he lost this battle, it did not matter. This young man from the demon god race appeared in Kang Shinmu's arena and then transformed into a 3-headed, 6-armed demon. According to the consciousness of the demon god ancestor in Kang Shinmu's mind, this guy's demon god bloodline was the bloodline of the 10,000 Calamity demon god. This 10,000 Calamity demon god was once a capable subordinate of the demon god ancestor. The demon god ancestor was a 16-winged heavenly demon god, and the 10,000 Calamity demon god was a 3-headed, 6-armed demon god with a murderous heart. On the battlefield, it could be said that it was a killing machine. Even in a one-on-one battle, it was the kind that was very cruel. However, this kind of power was cruel. It also depended on the personality of the person who inherited it. Of course, to be able to receive the cruel inheritance of the 10,000 Calamity demon god meant that this young man from the demon god race was not very kind. Most importantly, Kang Shinmu felt that this young man with the 10,000 Calamity demon god race inheritance seemed to have the ability to crush him. He did not know if it was an illusion. It's Huang Yun, a genius of the demon god race who has recently risen to fame. Huang Yun is very strong. It seems like the demon god clan doesn't want Jiang Shenwu to suppress Su Yi of the imperial clan. Since Huang Yun is here, this Kang Shinmu will not be able to win consecutively. Demon race from the demon race. Huang Yun race, Su, said, Kang Shinmu god, Kang Shinmu race has. Yi. Many people in the spectator stands started whispering to each other. At this moment, Su Yi also found an opportunity to step onto an arena and fight fiercely with an opponent from the sea god race. In the process of the fight, it could be seen that Su Ye's combat power was not particularly strong. However, she was constantly improving herself and consolidating the strength that she had not yet mastered. In the battle, she became stronger and stronger. Obviously, the way she consolidated her strength was different from Kang Shinmu's. Kang Shinmu relied on devouring time to give himself enough time to consolidate his strength. But Su Yi relied purely on the battle to consolidate her strength. Moreover, it could be seen that Su Ye's strength had already been somewhat consolidated before participating in the arena battles. Perhaps before the arena battles began, she had already sparred with some experts of the same race in order to consolidate her realm strength that had yet to be consolidated. As a result, Suyi was already ahead of Kang Xinmu. Moreover, she was now at the 7th level of the Demon Emperor's inherited bloodline grade. Therefore, she had a higher potential for improvement than Kang Xinmu. And if Kang Xinmu also broke through to the 7th level of the Demon Emperor, then the efficiency of time conversion from devouring his opponent's time power would not be as high as before. It might only be 300 times. After all, the efficiency of devouring time depended on the difference in realm between Kang Xinmu and his opponent, and not on the opponent's absolute realm. If Kang Xinmu improved, then when facing the same opponent, the efficiency of time conversion from devouring would naturally be reduced. This was detrimental to Kang Xinmu's consolidation. Therefore, to Kang Xinmu, this arena battle should only allow him to break through to the peak of the 6th level of the Emperor stage. The peak of the 6th level of the Dragon Emperor would not break through to the 7th level of the Dragon Emperor, or rather, he would not break through unless it was necessary. In any case, if Kang Xinmu really wanted to break through, his devouring space stored a lot of Dragon Mark energy from the Earth Divine Dragon Marrow. This energy was completely enough for him to break through to the 9th level of the Dragon Emperor. Therefore, Kang Xinmu did not lack Dragon Mark energy. At this moment, Kang Xinmu and the demon god youth called Huang Yun were facing off. As the surrounding people discussed, this demon god youth named Huang Yun had the inheritance blood essence of Wan Lu Heaven Tribulation demon god. Furthermore, he had risen to fame recently because he had killed so many people in a mid-grade relic. His strength could be said to be at the peak of the 9th level of the Emperor stage. In fact, Kang Xinmu could feel the same feeling from him as when he faced Gu Xinyue. That was, the other party's combat power was very likely to reach the 1st level of the Super Divine Dragon. This was terrifying. In fact, Kang Xinmu had also thought that there would be an existence with the same combat power as Gu Xinyue in this arena battle. If such an existence appeared, he would not be a match unless he used some special tricks or defeated the other party when he was not in a good state. However, Kang Xinmu did not expect to meet such an opponent so soon. The inheritor of the 10,000 Calamity Demon God from the Demon God race, Huang Yun. But, soon, Kang Xinmu and the other party started fighting fiercely. Then, Kang Xinmu realized that this Huang Yun did not seem to be using his full strength to fight him. "I'll go easy on you. You seize the opportunity and improve well, okay?" Suddenly, Kang Xinmu's 10,000 Calamity Demon God form and Kang Xinmu's Black Dragon body intertwined. A voice entered Kang Xinmu's ears, but no one else heard it. What did this mean? Go easy on him and seize the opportunity to improve well? Kang Xinmu was a little surprised. Could it be that this demon god youth, Huang Yun, was arranged by the demon god race? Kang Xinmu observed another arena not far away. Suyi of the demon god race's royalty was fighting with the sea god race's elite. During the intense battle, Suyi constantly looked for opportunities to consolidate his combat power and improve his control over his own strength. And now, Kang Xinmu seemed to have obtained such an opportunity, and it was a specially arranged opportunity. Chapter 48-65. Kang Xinmu started fighting Huang Yun. Huang Yun didn't use his Rage God demonic weapon, but Kang Xinmu had already used his Divine Dragon weapon. He had no choice. If he didn't use his full strength, he definitely wouldn't be a match for Huang Yun. This was because Huang Yun had been immersed in the 9th level of the Emperor realm for a long time. He wasn't someone that Kang Xinmu, who had only reached the 4th level of the Emperor realm, could compare to. Even if Kang Xinmu consolidated and controlled all of his power, he still wouldn't be a match for Huang Yun. Unless he could break through to the 7th level of the Emperor realm and cultivate the 9th level of the Ultimate Flood Dragon Explosion to the next level, it would be impossible for him to defeat Huang Yun. Otherwise, he would not have been able to defeat Huang Yun. This was the difference in strength between him and Gu Xinyue. Of course, if he could defeat Huang Yun, it would be easy for Kang Xinmu to deal with Luoan. Therefore, he wasn't in a hurry. Ever since Kang Xinmu made the decision to participate in the 9th level of the Emperor realm, he didn't plan on becoming the champion. This Huang Yun was undoubtedly one of the candidates for the champion. He was someone that everyone, or rather, the demon god clan, thought highly of. However, he was viewed as a great enemy by the other clans. Therefore, Kang Xinmu didn't plan on defeating Huang Yun. However, no matter what, he would definitely fight with all his strength to see how big the gap between him and Huang Yun was. This is a top-notch rage god demonic technique that has already been cultivated to the sacred level. It's equivalent to the 9th level of the ultimate flood dragon explosion of the sacred level. I can only dodge. Kang Xinmu immediately used the wind shadow flowing cloud to dodge. However, the power of Huang Yun's top-notch rage god demonic technique still condensed into a huge demonic claw that directly grabbed Kang Xinmu's dragon tail. Huang Yun also had an extremely deep understanding of the power of the void. When Kang Xinmu used the wind shadow flowing cloud, his target location had already been seen through by his opponent. Therefore, his opponent could completely wait for Kang Xinmu to arrive at the target location and then capture Kang Xinmu. So powerful. In the battle, Kang Xinmu felt like he was being crushed. In fact, Huang Yun did not even use his rage god demonic weapon. This was different from his previous fight with Shengguan Dai. When he had fought Shengguan Dai, she had taken a step back and not used her full strength, nor had she used her divine spirit dragon armament. However, apart from using his desolate god demonic weapon, Huang Yun had unleashed his full strength. Of course, this also meant that Huang Yun had only used less than a third of his strength. If he were to use the desolate god's demonic weapon, it would not be an exaggeration to say that his combat power would increase by 3 times. Therefore, Kang Xinmu was well aware of the gap between him and Huang Yun. However, it could be seen that Huang Yun had no intention of defeating Kang Xinmu at all. Instead, he was using this method to encourage Kang Xinmu and allow Kang Xinmu to consolidate the power of his breakthrough. On the other side, Suyi was the same. As for Kang Xinmu's side, the demon god race had actually arranged for someone to spar with him. This was very puzzling. At least, Kang Xinmu was very puzzled. Of course, the other races definitely did not know this. Therefore, when they saw that Huang Yun did not use his rage god demonic weapon to suppress Kang Xinmu, they found it very strange. Although Huang Yun was still suppressing Kang Xinmu, they still felt that the situation in the arena was a little strange. Kang Xinmu used his full strength to fight against Huang Yun. His black dragon body was even heavily injured several times, but he did not hit Huang Yun even once. This was because Huang Yun's attainments in void power were very high. Kang Xinmu's Voidwalker Ghost Scripture's concealment ability was not strong enough. In other words, Kang Xinmu's own realm was not strong enough. Otherwise, he would have made the Voidwalker Ghost Scripture's concealment attack even more invisible. Therefore, even though Kang Xinmu was not a match for his opponent now, it did not mean that Kang Xinmu would not be a match for his opponent after his realm increased. At this moment, Huang Yun was not in a hurry. He slowly fought with Kang Xinmu, constantly suppressing Kang Xinmu. And under his suppression, Kang Xinmu's 10,000 calamity demon god's power was constantly devoured by him. At the same time, he familiarized himself with his opponent's power, but he also deeply understood that he was currently not his opponent's match. Fortunately, Jiang Shenwu had been able to consolidate and control his mastery of the power to break through to the next realm in the midst of the intense battles. This allowed Kang Xinmu's consolidation of power to increase by about 10% in the fierce battle. This was equivalent to the time Kang Xinmu took to devour one opponent and obtain about 5 days to consolidate his power. Without a doubt, fighting was the fastest way to consolidate one's power. Suyi was right. However, Kang Xinmu had other ways to consolidate his power. If he combined the two, he would definitely be faster than Su Yi. At this moment, Kang Xinmu and Huang Yun were fighting fiercely. Soon, the time it took for an incense stick to burn was almost over. During this time, Huang Yun did not use his top-notch Desolate God demonic weapon. In fact, when the time was almost up, he even took the initiative to retreat from the arena. Kang Xinmu, you are growing very fast. I look forward to fighting with you. Huang Yun removed his demon god form and cast an interested look at Kang Xinmu in his human form. This caused Jiang Shenwu and the surrounding cultivators to be incomparably shocked. What the hell was this? Could it be Huang Yun's quirk? He actually developed feelings for his opponent as they fought, and he was looking forward to his opponent's growth? This guy must be crazy, but soon, someone realized that something was wrong. Look, Su Yi of the Demon God clan is in the arena. It's the Dragon God clan. It's Shangguan Dai, I think she's the chief dragon emperor of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. She went to fight Su Yi. But it doesn't look like she's using her full strength. Damn. Looks like the Demon God clan and the Dragon God clan have a secret deal. In order to cultivate their own clan's geniuses, they are exchanging geniuses to challenge and motivate them. Soon, the other clans guessed this, but they had no evidence. What evidence could they have to prove that the two sides were exchanging geniuses? If you are unhappy, you can come up and stop us. As long as you are faster than us, you can occupy a spot in the arena first and defeat Kang Xinmu and Su Yi. Everyone understood this logic, so no one said anything about it. As long as both sides did not go overboard, the others could not be bothered to say anything. Anyway, Kang Xinmu and Su Yi did not seem to be a threat to the final 16 arenas. Chapter 4866. At this moment, the battle between Kang Xinmu and Huang Yun had already ended. Kang Xinmu only took a glance at Su Yi's side and realized that it was actually Shangguan Dai who was fighting Su Yi. He had already roughly understood something. The Demon God clan and the Dragon God clan had made a deal. In order to cultivate the other party's young powerhouses, they had exchanged some strategies. For example, letting Huang Yun fight Jiang Shenwu, or Su Yi fight Shangguan Dai, That way, both of them would be able to strengthen their control and consolidate their power. In that way, both of them would be able to easily obtain a better result on this stage. No matter what, Kang Xinmu's combat power was much higher than before. Immediately after, the opponent that appeared in front of Kang Xinmu was beyond his expectations. It was actually a genius cultivator from the Demon God clan, and he had seen this guy before. The limitless thief demon god successor, Lin Xiaotian. He had once fought with Kang Xinmu in a supreme relic in the Dragon Martial Continent and killed a Dragon Emperor mentor from Donghuang Yangwu College. When Kang Xinmu saw Lin Xiaotian, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes. He didn't know what position Lin Xiaotian would take now. Would he come out to help him like Huang Yun, or would he really come out to deal with him? Kang Xinmu didn't know, but when Lin Xiaotian came out to see Kang Xinmu, he directly descended on the arena, before the other powerhouses of the other clans. Lin Xiaotian had the inheritance of the limitless thief demon god, so his speed and void ability were naturally extremely strong. At this moment, he wanted to seize this arena, and the other powerhouses of the other clans couldn't win against him. After appearing in front of Kang Xinmu, Lin Xiaotian chuckled. "Brother, we meet again. Let's have a good fight, come on." Following Lin Xiaotian's words, he directly transformed into the form of the limitless thief demon god, and the black demon god's body swept towards Kang Xinmu. Lin Xiaotian's strength was clearly inferior to Huang Yun's. Therefore, when Lin Xiaotian transformed into his limitless thief fiend celestial form and attacked Kang Xinmu, he used a desolate god's demonic weapon dagger. Kang Xinmu could feel that Lin Xiaotian did not reveal any killing intent on his way here. It was obvious that Lin Xiaotian was not here to kill him. It was even possible that the demon god race had sent him to fight against Kang Xinmu to train and nurture Kang Xinmu. So he relaxed. Without a doubt, this Lin Xiaotian knew something. He knew that Kang Xinmu could transform into the body of the demon god race's 16-winged heavenly demon god. This was the royal inheritance of the demon god race. Lin Xiaotian would never believe that Kang Xinmu did not have any secrets. However, because this matter concerned the royal bloodline, Lin Xiaotian did not make a big fuss after he left. He only secretly found a member of the royal family and consulted about Kang Xinmu. In the end, he learned one thing, and that was that Kang Xinmu was really a dragon martial artist related to the demon god race's royal family. Lin Xiaotian did not know what their relationship was, but the fact that a person could cultivate two different inherited powers of the dragon god race and the demon god race at the same time was enough to shock the world. Although this was not the first time something like this had happened, the last time something like this had happened was during the 100 Years. Moreover, the records were not very complete, so it was obvious that this kind of thing was extremely rare. In any case, Lin Xiaotian did not have any enmity towards Kang Xinmu. After all, they had worked together to fight against the enemy. Now that he had appeared to cooperate with Kang Xinmu, there was no doubt that it would not be a problem for Kang Xinmu to consolidate and master his power faster. The two sides exchanged blows on the arena, and then, the many experts of the various races who were watching the battle covered their faces with their hands. They really did not expect the dragon god race and the demon god race to be so shameless. But if they were to be accused now, they would never admit it. They could only think of a way to get rid of Kang Xinmu and Suyi first. Of course, getting rid of them was the safest and most comfortable result. But even if they could not get rid of them, even if they were defeated and thrown out of the arena, it would still be a very good result. At this moment, the battle between Suyi and Shangguan Dyer quickly ended. Then, just like Huang Yun, Shangguan Dyer deliberately lost the battle. Otherwise, Suyi would not be her match. Although Shangguan Dyer could not compare to the demon god races Wan Lu or the heaven calamity demon god Huang Yun, her combat power was not something that the current Suyi could fight against. Fortunately, in the last period, Suyi felt that he had consolidated and mastered a lot of power. Under the layers of pressure from Shangguan Dyer, he was actually able to barely hold on. It could be seen that his power had reached about half of Shangguan Dyer's. Of course, this was the situation where Shangguan Dyer did not use the heaven-rank divine dragon weapon. Once she used the heaven-rank divine dragon weapon, she would definitely be able to crush Suyi. Naturally, this was referring to the current Suyi. When Suyi truly consolidated and mastered his power, it was very likely that Shangguan Dyer would only be able to fight him to a draw. This was why she and Kang Xinmu needed to fight in the arena to break through their limits. In a sparring match, although it was possible to consolidate and control one's strength, the efficiency would definitely be slower. However, in the arena fights, the opponents would definitely not hold back. Even if they had arranged for Shangguan Dyer or Huang Yun, it would be under the condition that they would be able to suppress them, and not give them any chances. The battle between Kang Xinmu and Lin Xiaotian was the same. Kang Xinmu and Lin Xiaotian's strength could be said to be about the same. Previously, in the supreme ruins of the Dragon Martial Continent, the battle strength that Lin Xiaotian displayed was about the same as the strength of Kang Xinmu's demon god race. Who would have thought that in such a short period of time, Lin Xiaotian would have improved so much? This was truly terrifying. Even Kang Xinmu had to rely on so many cultivation resources to advance to this level. It was indeed very rare for Lin Xiaotian to be able to keep up with his progress. The key point was that Lin Xiaotian was able to slightly suppress Kang Xinmu by relying on the various methods and abilities of the limitless thief demon god. It could be seen that Kang Shinmu was actually a little behind. It was unbelievable. This inheritor of the limitless thief demon god has a very good family background. Although he is not from the royal family of the demon god race, he is still a descendant of a noble family. Otherwise, he would not have been able to come into contact with the royal powerhouses. His cultivation resources are definitely not any less than yours. Furthermore, this fellow was originally a high-level emperor stage existence. What's so strange about him being stronger than you now? Chapter 4867. At this moment, although Kang Shinmu was slightly suppressed in his battle with Lin Xiaotian, it was just the right time for him to consolidate the power that he had yet to control. The speed of consolidation was even faster than when he fought against Huang Yun. After all, he knew that Huang Yun was not a threat to him, but this Lin Xiaotian. Kang Shinmu treated him as a real opponent. Therefore, no matter what technique he used, he would use his strongest technique. He would use all of his strength without holding back at all. Of course, apart from the inherited power of other races, Kang Shinmu basically used all of them. He wanted to defeat Lin Xiaotian fair and square, which gave him a lot of willpower. This willpower pushed him to continuously consolidate the power that he had not grasped during his recent breakthrough. In a short period of time, the most intense battle took place between the two sides. Even Kang Shinmu's black dragon body was drenched in blood, and Lin Xiaotian's limitless thief demon god body was also seriously injured by Kang Shinmu's 8-stage flood dragon burst. At the beginning, Kang Shinmu was still suppressed by Lin Xiaotian, but as Kang Shinmu's power was consolidated and controlled, Lin Xiaotian was really no match for Kang Shinmu. Originally, his biggest advantage over Kang Shinmu was the grade of the inherited blood essence. However, as Kang Shinmu's power continued to consolidate and improve, and was constantly controlled, Lin Xiaotian's advantage became weaker and weaker. In front of Kang Shinmu, he devoured Lin Xiaotian's demon god power, which increased his resistance to Lin Xiaotian's demon god power, allowing him to surpass 3 levels of inherited blood essence to fight against Lin Xiaotian. When the last moment of the incense sticks time arrived, Kang Shinmu finally blasted Lin Xiaotian out of the arena. This scene caused many people to raise their eyebrows. Too strong, Kang Shinmu's growth speed was too fast. If he did not suppress Kang Shinmu, perhaps when Kang Shinmu truly consolidated and grasped the power brought about by his breakthrough, he might really become one of the 16 people standing in the arena. Therefore, when Lin Xiaotian was blasted out of the arena by Kang Shinmu, an expert from the Sea God clan immediately appeared in front of Kang Shinmu. Wei Mengtian of the Sea God clan's shrimp tribe had once died in the hands of Kang Shinmu, but very few people knew about this. Of course, the expert from the Sea God clan who appeared in front of Kang Shinmu did not know about this. This expert from the Sea God race came from the turtle tribe of the Sea God race. The Sea God race was divided into divisions based on the creatures of the sea, mainly because their inheritance came from the sea. Under the Sea God clan's turtle tribe, the Sea God clan was divided by the creatures in the sea, mainly because their inheritance came from the sea. To Kang Shinmu, the expert from the Sea God clan's turtle tribe in front of him could be said to have an indestructible defense. Therefore, he stood up and wanted to use his strongest defense to knock Kang Shinmu out of the arena. In short, many of the experts from various clans surrounding Kang Shinmu's arena were at the 9th level of the Emperor realm and thought that they were very strong. They all felt that they could use their advantage to knock Kang Shinmu out of the arena. Therefore, the expert from the Sea God clan's turtle tribe who appeared in front of Kang Shinmu was also very confident. Jiang Shenwu didn't think much of it. When he saw the other party, he frowned. After all, the other party's defense seemed very strong. The sea god phantom that the other party had transformed into was actually faintly covered by a turtle shell. The layers of defense were extremely terrifying. However, after thinking about it, Kang Xinmu did not care. He transformed into a black dragon and swept towards the opponent. The arena battles came one after another. Kang Xinmu did not have time to check on Su Ye's condition. He had to focus on his opponent. As long as he could defeat another opponent in such an arena, his control and consolidation of power would increase by a large margin. If he could do this 2 or 3 more times, he might be able to consolidate all the power he had lost from his consecutive breakthroughs. When he completely consolidated his power to the 6th level of the Dragon Emperor, Kang Xinmu's power would truly reach the level of a 9th level Emperor Realm expert. It would not be like now, where he was at a disadvantage against every 9th level Emperor Realm expert. He might not even be able to defeat his opponent. What Kang Xinmu wanted was to have a fighting chance against every 9th level Emperor Realm expert. He would not have no chance of winning against an expert like Huang Yun. Therefore, it was very likely that he would continue to break through to the 7th level Emperor Realm after consolidating his current power. Although the conversion efficiency of the time he devoured in the arena would be much lower, it was still necessary for him to become stronger. Perhaps, should he first break through to the 8th level Rebirth Realm before breaking through to the 7th level Emperor Realm? This way, Kang Xinmu's fighting power would be greatly increased. Furthermore, it would not affect the conversion efficiency of the time he devoured. However, if he wanted to break through to the 8th level Rebirth Realm, he had to defeat 2 reincarnation beasts. I'm afraid it will not be easy to defeat 2 reincarnation beasts in the arena. Who would sit back and watch me break through? As long as they cause trouble, I will fail to break through. Therefore, I can consider leaving the arena after consolidating the power of my current realm. When I break through, I can return to the arena. This plan was not bad. After thinking about it, Kang Xinmu decided to do it. Currently, the most important thing for him was to continuously consolidate his power in the arena. He had yet to completely master the power he had obtained from breaking through consecutively. It would not be easy for him to completely master it. At this moment, he was facing the Sea God clan's Turtle Tribe cultivator with a strong defense. He immediately launched a ferocious attack. Kang Xinmu's 8th-stage Flood Dragon explosion bombarded the opponent's body as if it did not consume any energy. This caused the opponent to continuously release the most terrifying energy ripples. However, the opponent's defense was simply impregnable. The layers of the Sea God Phantom's turtle shell defense did not seem to be damaged at all. "Give up, kid. You can't break through my defense." The Sea God clan cultivator snorted coldly. At the same time, Kang Xinmu felt a kind of power condensing. It was somewhat similar to what Kang Xinmu had felt before. This Sea God clan cultivator was actually using his attack to condense a terrifying attack. This attack was what the opponent had relied on to blast Kang Xinmu out of the arena. If he doesn't retreat from the ring, I'm afraid he'll die in the ring. At least with the defensive ability he has displayed, he won't be able to withstand this move. The lethality and destructive power of this move are too strong. This kid. If he dies in the ring, that would be a joke, he. Among the spectators, there were some who were nervous about the situation that Kang Xinmu was currently facing. However, there were even more who were looking forward to and rejoicing in his misfortune. After all, most of the people present were on different sides from Kang Xinmu. They were all powerful cultivators from other clans. Therefore, these people originally wanted to see Kang Xinmu die in the ring. When they saw this scene, they were naturally incomparably happy. Even if this move couldn't kill Kang Xinmu in the ring, it would definitely be enough to make Kang Xinmu leave the ring. Once he left the ring, it would mean that Kang Xinmu's first attack on the ring had failed. There were still 2 more chances. As long as Kang Xinmu wasn't given a chance, then Kang Xinmu definitely wouldn't be the dark horse in this ring battle. No one could watch as Kang Xinmu and Su Yi rose from the 4th level of the Martial Emperor stage to the 9th level of the Martial Emperor stage after just breaking through to the 4th level. To Su Yi and Kang Xinmu, this was a triumphant progress. To the Demon God clan and Dragon God's clan, it was a huge boost in prestige. Therefore, there would definitely be many obstructions. Of course, among the clans, the strongest people like Huang Yun would rarely appear in the ring where Su Yi and Kang Xinmu were. After all, the strongest people had to fight for the first place. They had to use the 3 chances to ensure that they would eventually stand in the 16 rings. They also needed to make a move at the crucial moment to push out some of the most important opponents. They wanted to fight for a higher ranking and finally participate in the elimination round. Therefore, when Kang Xinmu and Su Yi appeared, these strongest people would almost never appear in the ring where they were. First, if they made a move to deal with Kang Xinmu and Su Yi, it would be too embarrassing. Second, they couldn't waste their chances to attack the 2 of them. After all, in the eyes of people at Huang Yun's level, Kang Xinmu and Su Yi weren't mature enough. They wouldn't pose any threat to their strength. Therefore, the most important people now were the middle and high-level experts in the 9th level of the Martial Emperor stage who wanted to defeat Kang Xinmu and Su Yi. At this moment, on the ring where Kang Xinmu was, the sea god's storm crazily surged. Endless ice blades, wind blades, storms, and tsunamis continuously swept up within the ring. The experts on the periphery didn't even know what was happening on the ring. Under such a fierce and large-scale attack, not to mention 1 Kang Xinmu, even 10 Kang Xinmu or even 100 Kang Xinmus wouldn't be able to survive. This attack was too fierce. Even Huang Yun felt a little emotional. Even he couldn't defend against such a powerful attack head-on. How many attacks could he launch in 5 days? It was unimaginable. To outsiders, this wasn't 5 days at all. It was less than half an incense stick's time. In this half an incense stick's time, they felt as if Jiang Shenwu had launched thousands of attacks on the Sea God clan powerhouse. Moreover, every attack was stronger than the last. It was obvious that Kang Xinmu was constantly mastering and consolidating the powerful strength that he had obtained through successive breakthroughs during the process of attacking. In a short period of time, he had launched thousands of attacks. That was all the attacks that Kang Xinmu had launched in 5 days, and there was not even a moment of rest. If the power was exhausted, Kang Xinmu would directly use it from the devouring space. Just now, he had taken the opportunity to devour a lot of the power of the Sea God Tempest attack from the Sea God clan powerhouse. Now, this power was transformed into the purest devouring innate power and was used to condense the 8th-stage Flood Dragon explosion to attack the opponent. This kind of attack made everyone in the field feel a little terrified. Devour time, then use the time devoured to launch a fatal attack on the opponent. Logically speaking, the defense of the Turtle Tribe powerhouse should be indestructible in front of Kang Xinmu. With unparalleled combat strength, it should have been impossible for Kang Xinmu to break it. However, after half an incense stick's time, or rather, after Kang Xinmu had launched thousands of attacks in 5 days, the Sea God clan Sea God Phantom finally exploded under the attack of the 9-stage Flood Dragon explosion. This guy's defense was really terrifying. Even if the Sea God's Phantom exploded, it would start to explode bit by bit, and not as a whole. This also meant that there was still a huge gap between Jiang Shenwu's strength and this guy's. Under normal circumstances, there was no way he could defeat the Sea God clan's Turtle Tribe powerhouse. But now, by relying on the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's ability to devour time, he launched thousands of attacks. The 9-stage Flood Dragon explosion didn't actually break the opponent's defense. It was only because Kang Xinmu had completely exhausted the opponent's defense. If the opponent's defense hadn't been exhausted, Kang Xinmu wouldn't have been able to do anything to him. If this guy had cultivated the Dark Dragon inferiority technique, maybe I wouldn't have been able to kill him. Kang Xinmu couldn't help but chuckle when he thought of a dragon technique. The Dark Dragon Art of Filth Mastery could heal one's injuries and expended energy. Even if one's time was completely consumed, the effects of the Dark Dragon Art of Filth Mastery would still take effect. This was something that Jiang Xinwu had tried before. Therefore, he could only blame the Sea God clan's Turtle Tribe powerhouse for not being skilled enough. At this moment, Jiang Xinwu erupted with his strongest and most terrifying attack, directly shattering the Sea God's projection into pieces. Chapter 4870. Kang Xinmu had won again. This was something that no one present had expected. Even when the Turtle Clan's powerhouse was blasted out of the arena, no one rushed to step onto Kang Xinmu's arena. This was because Kang Xinmu's performance just now was too shocking. First, it was the creation of two alternate dimensions. It could be said that even if Kang Xinmu could create an alternate dimension, it would still be shocking enough to use as a counterpoint to the Sea God's storm. After all, creating an alternate dimension was not an easy task. It required a very deep understanding of the power of void and space. Even among the true 9th stage Emperor stage powerhouses, less than 10% of them could do this. Among them, the powerhouses from the Void Human clan could do it the most. Of course, overall, the number of people who could do this was relatively low. Alternate dimensions were basically only used for supreme god-level comprehension. For example, existences at the level of super divine dragons and super demon gods could easily comprehend these techniques. But now, Kang Xinmu had created two alternate dimensions. Was Kang Xinmu a demon? One could imagine that Kang Xinmu had not just learned this technique. In other words, Kang Xinmu had already learned this technique when he was at the 4th stage of the Emperor stage. This was simply terrifying. Just how powerful was this kind of understanding and comprehension of the power of the void? Even the geniuses from the Void Human clan could only do this, right? Furthermore, Jiang Xinwu had directly created two alternate dimensions on the battlefield and even used one of them to attract everyone's attention. To be honest, even if Jiang Xinwu used one of the alternate dimensions to dodge the attack, it would still be impossible for him to defeat the Sea God race's Turtle Tribe expert. This was because if he was prepared, it would be almost impossible for Kang Xinmu to devour this fellow's time. However, Kang Xinmu had used an alternate dimension to attract this fellow's attention. Then, he launched a sneak attack from behind, thus achieving his goal of devouring his opponent's time. Then, after devouring his opponent's time, he used the converted time to launch a terrifying 10,000 attacks in the short time it took for half an incense stick to burn. Who could withstand the attacks of over 10,000 high-grade divine spirit dragon martial skills? Logically speaking, a dragon warrior would be completely exhausted if he could unleash this kind of attack 10 times. However, Kang Xinmu had unleashed tens of thousands of attacks. This was simply terrifying. How did Kang Xinmu recover his strength? What kind of method did Kang Xinmu use to defeat an opponent that he had no chance of defeating? Everyone on the Sea God race's side was shocked. The expert from the Turtle Clan of the Sea God clan who had just been thrown out of the arena was one of the experts from the Sea God clan who had participated in the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. Furthermore, he was one of the top experts. Some people had even asserted that in terms of arena battles, it was impossible for anyone of the same realm to be a match for this genius. This was because his defensive ability had reached the peak of the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. His offensive ability was also based on his defensive ability. When stacked together, it produced a terrifying effect that was impossible to avoid. In a battlefield like the arena, this fellow was practically invincible. Even if someone could use an alternate dimension to dodge his Sea God's storm, they would not be able to harm him. He was completely invincible. But now, Kong Shinmu had used his ability to devour time to completely defeat this fellow. Not only did he defeat this fellow, he even seriously injured him. It must be known that this fellow had not been injured for a long time. Terror, shock, and all sorts of similar emotions spread in the hearts of everyone present. Could it be that Kong Shinmu was already invincible in the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm? No one knew that Kong Shinmu was currently consolidating his strength. After 5 days of continuous bombardment of the Turtle Tribe expert, Kong Shinmu could be said to have made great progress. This was a live target that gave him a lot of pressure. After the first 1,000 attacks, Kong Shinmu was actually on the verge of collapse. This fellow's defense was too strong. His defense was actually not broken after 1,000 attacks? This was simply unimaginable. Therefore, Kong Shinmu was currently under great pressure. After attacking this fellow thousands of times to no avail, he even thought of giving up. Perhaps the intensity of his attacks was not enough to deal with an opponent of this level, but in the end, he still clenched his teeth and persevered. During this period of time, his 9th stage ultimate dragon explosion had finally been cultivated to the 9th stage. He could use the complete 9th stage extreme Dao roaring dragon explosion. During this period of time, he had also devoured a lot of dark attribute spiritual energy essence. He had prepared some of these cultivation resources on him, but he did not expect to actually use them. If he had not broken through the 9th stage ultimate dragon explosion to the 9th stage, he would not have been able to break this fellow's turtle shell defense. And this was not the only thing that had changed. During this period of time, Kong Shinmu had almost completely consolidated the power that he had not yet grasped after his successive breakthroughs. He had now truly transformed into a powerhouse at the 6th stage of the Dragon Emperor. Moreover, his direct combat ability was already comparable to that of an ordinary 9th stage Emperor tier cultivator. A freak like Huang Yun didn't count for now. In any case, Jiang Shenwu really wasn't Huang Yun's match. Even if his power had been completely consolidated, his strength was only 30% higher than before. And Huang Yun was an existence that was at least 3 times stronger than him. Therefore, Kong Shinmu had to raise his cultivation level to be able to contend with Huang Yun. Of course, Kong Shinmu had also gained something, and that was his compatibility with the Phantom Ghost Book. Originally, there was not much compatibility between Kong Shinmu and the Phantom Ghost Book. He could only use 70% of the Phantom Ghost Book's power. However, after these 10,000 violent attacks, and these continuous attacks, his compatibility with the Phantom Ghost Book had skyrocketed. Now, he could use 80% of the Phantom Ghost Book's power. 80% of the Phantom Ghost Book's power was already a considerable improvement. At the very least, it increased the destructive power of Kong Shinmu's attacks by 10%. This was an incredible change. If he could be completely compatible with the Phantom Ghost Book, then Kong Shinmu's battle prowess would increase by at least 50%. Because if he was completely compatible with the Phantom Ghost Book, then he would be fusing with a dragon weapon. However, logically speaking, the higher the level of a dragon weapon, the more difficult it was to fuse with it. Kong Shinmu had seen people fuse with some ordinary Earth-grade and Heaven-grade dragon weapons, but he had never seen a dragon warrior fuse with a holy dragon weapon. Chapter 48-71. After all, although Kong Shinmu's strength had improved very quickly, his experience was indeed much less than most people's. Of course, in this arena battle, I'll definitely see some existences that have fused with divine dragon weapons, right? For example, Huang Yun seems to have fused with a top-notch desolate god demonic weapon. Because of this, his battle strength is recognized as the strongest at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor stage, Kong Shinmu thought to himself. No matter what, this battle with the expert from the Turtle Tribe of the Sea God clan was extremely important to him. Originally, he thought that he would need to use 2 opportunities to attack the arena to adapt to his current battle strength. He did not expect that he would be able to gain a firm foothold in the arena before he even used up the opportunity to attack the arena. Of course, a very important factor was that the Demon God clan had consecutively sent Huang Yun and Lin Xiaotian to fight against him. These two battles were closer to the nature of exchanging pointers, and this allowed Kang Xinmu to consolidate and master his strength by a lot. Otherwise, if Kang Xinmu had directly encountered the expert from the Turtle Tribe in his second battle, he really would not have been able to defeat this guy. At that time, the strength that he had consolidated and mastered was far from what it was now. Even if he was given 5 days to successfully devour, he was afraid that he would not be able to break through the defense of the expert from the Turtle Tribe. The difference in accumulation between the two was too great. This expert from the Turtle Tribe of the Sea God clan had probably been stuck at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor stage for a few years, or even more than a decade. How could Kang Xinmu compare with him in terms of foundation? Fortunately, Kang Xinmu had used his own special methods to defeat this guy. Moreover, he had instantly deterred the surrounding experts from the various clans who wanted to challenge his arena. Originally, these people were fighting to be the first to challenge Kang Xinmu, but now, they really did not know how to deal with Kang Xinmu. They wanted to attack and were originally full of confidence, but after seeing Kang Xinmu defeat the expert from the Sea God clan, they all retreated a little. It was not that they were really afraid of Kang Xinmu, but rather, they were afraid of the impact of being defeated by Kang Xinmu. If they could not even defeat a 6th-level Martial Emperor Dragon Warrior Jr., how could they have the face to educate their juniors? Perhaps losing to Kang Xinmu would be a stain on their lives. These were all people at the level of the Dragon Emperor Mentor. Moreover, they were considered to be relatively strong among the Dragon Emperor mentors. They were at level 9 Emperor stage, almost reaching the Supreme God stage. How could an expert of such a level not have pride? How could he not have dignity? For a moment, no one stepped onto Kang Xinmu's arena and continued to challenge Kang Xinmu. For a moment, no one stepped onto Kang Xinmu's arena and continued to challenge Kang Xinmu. The guys who had been clamoring to defeat Kang Xinmu were all silent now. Shengguan Dai had just sparred with Su Yi. She had to admit that Su Ye's talent was outstanding, and it was indeed possible for him to surpass her very soon. Based on Su Ye's growth rate, he would probably catch up to her strength in the later stages of this arena battle. However, it was basically impossible for him to surpass her. Shengguan Dai was very sure of this. Originally, she had thought that Kang Xinmu would be the same, but she had not expected that Kang Xinmu would actually use some strange methods to defeat the expert from the Sea God clan. One had to know that the expert from the Turtle Tribe of the Sea God clan was an opponent that even Shengguan Dai found very troublesome. She might not even be able to defeat him in an environment like the arena. However, she had not expected that Kang Xinmu would actually be able to do this, and he had even eliminated this guy in an extremely shocking manner. This guy was originally one of the trump cards of the Sea God clan. However, now, this guy had been seriously injured by Kang Xinmu's tens of thousands of consecutive attacks. It was impossible for him to participate in the arena battle for the next 2 days. He would be like the Demon Snake Prince back then, following in the footsteps of the Demon Snake Prince. The Sea God clan had lost a general. Moreover, this made the other races need to think carefully before sending out their experts to deal with Kang Xinmu. This was because if they were not careful, they would be like the Demon Snake Prince and the expert from the Turtle Tribe of the Sea God clan. They would be seriously injured and lose the opportunity to participate in the arena battle. Was it worth the price to pay to challenge Kang Xinmu? Without a doubt, it was not worth it. Targeting Kang Xinmu could be said to be the common goal of the various races. However, when there was a certain amount of risk involved, the various races would definitely make some assessments to avoid the risk. Therefore, for a moment, no one targeted Kang Xinmu and stepped onto the arena to challenge Kang Xinmu. At this time, Suyi had already been defeated by an expert from the Demon God clan. That expert from the Demon God clan was a Black Dragon Demon. The Black Dragon Demon was not an inheritance of the Divine Dragon clan. Instead, like the Heaven Awakening Demon Dragon, it was an inheritance of a Demon Dragon's bloodline. This Black Dragon Demon was extremely strong, and it was very likely that he was on par with Huang Yun. This Black Dragon Demon, who was at the 9th stage of the Emperor realm, seemed to like to bully women. He had directly attacked 2 beautiful women in the arena. One of them was Suyi. Suyi was defeated by this Black Dragon Demon and was seriously injured. He was directly thrown out of the arena. This treatment could be said to be completely different from that of Kang Xinmu. Of course, if Kang Xinmu had encountered this Black Dragon Demon, his fate would have been similar. However, Kang Xinmu's luck was slightly better. He actually encountered the genius of the Sea God clan's turtle tribe, who was mainly proficient in defense. Therefore, it could be said that Kang Xinmu relied on his skills to win and intimidate the surrounding people. Of course, the Black Dragon Demon seemed to be very interested in Kang Xinmu. He looked at Kang Xinmu from afar. Unfortunately, this Black Dragon Demon only had one last chance to attack the arena. He couldn't waste it like this. It was very likely that the Black Dragon Demon would continue to defend the arena. However, whether he could defend the arena was a problem. After all, there were many experts at the 9th stage of the Emperor realm. He wasn't the only one. Not to mention, if Huang Yun attacked him, he might not be able to defend the arena. Thus, this Black Dragon Demon still had one last chance to attack the arena. He had to stay until the end and win a spot to stand on the last 16 arenas. Kang Xinmu didn't need to worry about encountering this Black Dragon Demon for the time being. However, he soon encountered a powerhouse. This was a beautiful powerhouse from the ancient Phoenix clan. This beautiful powerhouse directly arrived at the arena where Kang Xinmu was. She cast a curious smile at Kang Xinmu. Chapter 4872. The beauty of the ancient Phoenix clan appearing on Kang Xinmu's arena surprised Kang Xinmu. He could see that this beauty seemed to know him. My relationship with the ancient Phoenix clan is that I killed many opponents from the Monster God tribe, the Void Human tribe, and the Talisman Water tribe at the Martial Dragon Fortress. Afterwards, I obtained a reward from the ancient Phoenix clan. Could it be that this beauty knows that I killed those geniuses of the Void Human tribe? Kang Xinmu thought to himself. Whether or not his thoughts were true, no matter what, he was currently on the arena. Since this beauty had appeared on the arena, it meant that she wanted to challenge Kang Xinmu. A battle was unavoidable. Come, let's fight. Kang Xinmu transformed into a pitch-black divine dragon and swept towards the ancient Phoenix clan beauty at the fastest possible speed. As for the beautiful ancient Phoenix clan woman, she directly turned into a flame phoenix. The power of the flame phoenix suddenly erupted, and waves of flames surged outwards, forcing Jiang Shenwu back. It was obvious that this ancient Phoenix clan beauty was very strong. She had even reached the level of Huang Yun. But Kang Xinmu could feel that this beauty didn't seem to want to defeat him. Otherwise, she wouldn't even need to use her full strength to send him flying off the arena. It can't be. Could the Dragon God tribe be related to the ancient Phoenix clan? Kang Xinmu felt this was unbelievable. However, Kang Xinmu didn't have time to think about this possibility. This was because the fierce battle had already begun. 9th Stage Ultimate Hydra Dragon Explosion. The 9th Stage Ultimate Hydra Dragon Explosion that he had cultivated to its peak was displayed at this time. Moreover, he used the power of the Voidwalker Ghost Tome to hide it in the void. Then, it suddenly erupted beside the ancient Phoenix clan beauty. The terrifying 9th Stage Ultimate Hydra Dragon Explosion was more than twice as powerful as the last one. At the same time, the 9th Stage Thunder Dragon burst forth in almost an instant. This power had been amplified by the Voidwalker Ghost Tome's more than 300 battle runes, reaching the limit of what Kang Shinmu could unleash right now. But the ancient Phoenix clan woman that had transformed into a flame phoenix seemed to be bathed in raging flames. Layers upon layers of raging flames condensed into feathers, and these feathers seemed to possess an extremely potent resistance. They completely isolated the might of Kang Shinmu's 9-layered ash dragon explosion, making it impossible for it to injure her. What a strong defense! Kang Shinmu narrowed his eyes. It had to be said that this defense was almost on par with the expert from the Turtle Clan of the Sea God Clan. However, it looked even more dazzling and resplendent than the expert from the Turtle Clan. This beautiful woman from the ancient Phoenix Clan was extremely strong. I am the ancient Phoenix Clan's Murong. Kang Shinmu, I know you. The ancient Phoenix Clan woman that had transformed into a flaming phoenix smiled at Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu, you have many things on you that I gave you, including the hidden black dragon stone. Of course, it seems that the hidden black dragon stone is no longer on you. So it's you. Kang Shinmu was suddenly enlightened. It seemed that this beautiful woman Murong was already quite familiar with him. When he was at the Martial Dragon Fortress and participated in the Void Race War of the Martial Dragon Continent, the backer behind his Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy was the ancient Phoenix Clan. Along the way, Kang Shinmu had obtained many benefits from the ancient Phoenix Clan. Many of the cultivation resources, including the hidden black dragon stone, were taken out by the ancient Phoenix Clan. These were useless to the ancient Phoenix Clan and were the creations of the dragon gods. Thus, they took them out to reward those who had contributed to the ancient Phoenix Clan in the war. Kang Shinmu had contributed the most. Kang Shinmu just didn't expect that the one in charge of the ancient Phoenix Clan's affairs was a beautiful woman like Murong. She was only at the 9th level of the Martial Emperor level. Shouldn't this kind of thing be handled by a transcendent powerhouse? Or, could it be that the matter regarding Kang Shinmu had not risen to that level? Could it be handed over to Murong to solve? The one in charge of the battlefield affairs is my master. Murong smiled again and said, Kang Shinmu, I didn't expect you to grow to this stage so quickly. You should have completely grasped and consolidated the power that you have obtained from breaking through realms, right? Then, leave this arena to me for the time being. What? Kang Shinmu didn't know what she meant. However, as soon as she finished speaking, Murong directly erupted with a terrifying flame towards Kang Shinmu. This flame could even burn the void. It appeared around Kang Shinmu and swept towards Kang Shinmu, burning the void. This scene caused Kang Shinmu's expression to change. He knew that after the exchange, the other party planned to fight with him. He was obviously not her match. However, Murong was the same as Huang Yun. She didn't use her ancient Phoenix Clan's battle weapon. Instead, she directly displayed her own martial skills to attack Kang Shinmu. Just like this, Kang Shinmu felt an unparalleled pressure. This pressure was too strong, so strong that Kang Shinmu almost couldn't breathe. Because the surrounding void was burning, Kang Shinmu's perception in connection with the void outside was blocked. Now, he couldn't even use Sunset Shadow Flowing Flash. This method was too strong. At this moment, the boundless power of flames had formed into a spherical fire net, and then it had completely enveloped Jiang Shenwu in the center and was continuously approaching him. Jiang Shenwu had already been surrounded by the waves of burning flames in the void. The others outside the arena couldn't see Kang Shinmu's current situation. After all, the flames had already enveloped Kang Shinmu's entire black dragon body. At this moment, Kang Shinmu could only forcefully resist and defend. Devouring power. Taking advantage of the fact that the waves of flames hadn't closed in yet, Kang Shinmu took the initiative to release his devouring power and began to devour the flames in one direction. As long as he could completely devour the flames, then he could use the power of sunset shadow flowing flash to perceive the power of the void, and then flash away from the encirclement of the flames. However, Kang Shinmu's thoughts were a bit too optimistic. Murong Lianyi's strength was too strong. Even if Kang Shinmu only devoured one direction of the flame cage martial skill, he still wouldn't be able to devour it. This was because Kang Shinmu's devouring speed couldn't keep up with the speed of his opponent's flames. No matter how much power of flames he devoured, the same amount of power of flames would immediately burn from the void. Chapter 48-73. Kang Shinmu continued to devour the flame power that surrounded him, and continuously increased his resistance to the flame attribute power. Finally, not long after, the circle of flame power around Kang Shinmu's black dragon body finally approached Kang Shinmu's black dragon body, and it came crashing down, burning the void along with it. At this time, Kang Shinmu's black dragon body had already displayed the divine dragon tyrant body technique's defensive posture, and the power of the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal had completely erupted. This Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal was equivalent to the activation of 1,200 defensive battle runes, and it increased Kang Shinmu's defensive ability by more than 8 times. This was because he had become more compatible with the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal. If Kang Shinmu could be completely compatible with the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal, he could even make the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal increase his defense by 12 times. He was still a little far from being completely compatible, but for now, it was enough. Jiang Shenwu and the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal were unleashed, and the entire body of the Black Divine Dragon was in its strongest defensive state. The circle of flame suddenly came crashing down. Do I need to activate it? No. I should be able to resist it. Jiang Shenwu was currently pondering whether or not he needed to use the other 2 brilliant transformation abilities of the Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal. Using either of these 2 brilliant transformation abilities would make his strength stronger. If he used both, although he could not overcome the gap between him and Murong Lianyi, he could at least resist a part of her attack. But after thinking about it, Kang Shinmu did not use it. Most importantly, he felt that he could not defeat Murong Lianyi even if he used it. There was no need to, and he had also exposed his hidden cards. It would be fine if he could defeat his opponent, but unfortunately, the gap between their foundations was too big, and Kang Shinmu could not possibly be a match for Murong Lianyi. In that case, I'll block it if I can, but if I can't, I'll just admit defeat. Kang Shinmu thought to himself, and his body began to be roasted by the void flames. The terrifying flame power burned on his body, and then the dragon scales on his body became increasingly fragile in the burning. Kang Shinmu was seriously injured. However, he did not die on the spot. His vitality was still too strong. I admit defeat. Kang Shinmu calmly admitted defeat. Even though Murong Lianyi's attack had hit him hard and his body looked scorched black, his expression didn't change at all. He was too steady. Such a heavy injury was not fatal to Kang Shinmu. In fact, the pain it brought to Kang Shinmu was not enough to make him frown. This willpower was too strong. After the flames burned out, Kang Shinmu's black dragon body suffered such heavy damage, but he still didn't frown. Murong Lianyi couldn't help but sigh. This boy's willpower was really terrifying. This made Murong Lianyi want to cooperate with Kang Shinmu even more. Now it seemed that Kang Shinmu's battle strength was not strong, but once the grade of Kang Shinmu's divine dragon inheritance blood was upgraded, his battle strength would become extremely strong, super strong, unbelievably strong. This was determined by willpower. In many cases, practitioners like Kang Shinmu who practiced body-refining dragon martial arts were most afraid of pain. They had already experienced a lot of pain in the process of cultivation, and became more sensitive in battle. Of course, compared to ordinary practitioners who practiced body-refining dragon martial arts were more resistant to pain. This was certain and inevitable, but it also depended on the person. Even among all the practitioners who practiced body-refining dragon martial arts, Kang Xinmu was one of the most resistant to pain, and his willpower was the strongest. When Kang Xinmu decided to admit defeat, he directly flew out of the arena. It could be seen that he was seriously injured. If others suffered such a serious injury, they might not even be able to participate in the following arena battles. But for Kang Xinmu, this injury was nothing. This was just one attack from Murong Lieni. If she used some combat weapon to enhance this attack, Kang Xinmu really couldn't resist it. This was because Kang Xinmu had swallowed a lot of fire attribute power, and after strengthening his resistance to fire attribute power, he also used the defensive effect of the Great Compassion Dragon Seal. If any of these factors were missing, Kang Xinmu would have been burned to ashes. But when Kang Xinmu left the arena, Murong Lieni smiled and said, "Kang Xinmu, I will wait for you in this arena. I believe that you should have room for improvement. Good luck." The biggest taboo for continuous breakthroughs was not having the opportunity to consolidate and master the power, but now this arena battle was the best opportunity to improve and master the power. After just a few arena battles, Kang Xinmu had basically completely mastered the power that he had previously broken through continuously. Even if he hadn't completely consolidated it before, now after the battle with Murong Lieni, he had completely mastered the power. So, if Kang Xinmu wanted to become stronger, he could only continue to break through the cultivation realm. Soon, Kang Xinmu floated back to the Dragon God spectator seats while using the devouring power to swallow the power of the demon cores to recover. He still had a lot of demon cores that he hadn't swallowed, so he could completely swallow them to recover. After swallowing these demon cores, his injuries actually recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. By the time he returned to the spectator seats of the Dragon Gods, his injuries had almost healed. Kang Xinmu, the demon god race has sent a request. They want you to help Suyi recover. When Kang Xinmu returned to the spectator seats, Emperor Shi Divine Dragon suddenly sent a secret message that surprised Kang Xinmu. Help Suyi recover? Kang Xinmu was a little surprised. He finally remembered that Suyi had been seriously injured by the black dragon demon of the demon god race, and this black dragon demon seemed to be very hostile to Kang Xinmu. No matter what, Suyi was still a member of the royal family of the demon god race. She might even be Suyi's older sister, so it wasn't a big deal to help her. The key was, why would Emperor Shi Divine Dragon allow him to cooperate with the demon god race and help them? It seemed that the dragon gods and the demon god race had indeed allied together. And looking at the current situation, the ancient Phoenix clan also had the intention of winning over Kang Xinmu. Now that Kang Xinmu belonged to the dragon gods, winning over Kang Xinmu meant that they wanted to be on good terms with the dragon gods. There was no doubt about this. For the dragon gods as a whole, this was not a bad thing. Among the major races, even if it was only a temporary alliance, it was still very good. And before this, the alliance with the dragon gods was only a shallow one, and there was not much cooperation between them. But now, it was not necessarily so. Chapter 4874. Kang Xinmu returned to the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy in the Longwu Fortress. Suyi was now arranged to be in a training ground in the office. He was watched over by a supreme expert of the demon god race. Soon, Kang Xinmu came to the training ground under the guidance of Yu Yaji. Suyi is seriously injured and unconscious. The demon god clan heard from somewhere that you have the ability to heal people quickly, so they asked you to come and help. For this, they are willing to pay half of the rewards that the demon god clan received in the arena battles. As Yu Yaji spoke, she covered her mouth and chuckled. Kang Xinmu, if you really have this ability, I hope you won't be stingy. Everything that the demon god clan gave us will be given to you as a reward. In other words, the dragon god clan did not get any benefits, and all the benefits were directly given to Kang Xinmu. This surprised Jiang Shenwu a little. However, this was good as well. It was obvious that both sides did not want that little bit of reward. These rewards were nothing to supreme experts. For the Demon God clan, the key was to let Suyi continue to participate in the arena battles. This was very important to Suyi. Suyi was a super genius cultivated by the royal family of the Demon God clan, so her development path could not be ignored. For the Dragon God clan, it was obvious that the Demon God clan had a clear intention to cooperate with the Dragon God clan because of Kang Xinmu. The appearance of this intention to cooperate would greatly reduce the overall pressure that the Dragon God clan faced, so this was obviously beneficial to the Dragon God clan. Moreover, they had received a more preliminary information, about a mid-level relic, but the Dragon God clan did not know the specifics. Anyway, as long as there was a chance for the Dragon Warriors to participate, it would be fine. If the Demon God clan cooperated with the Dragon God clan, they would definitely not let the Dragon God clan miss this opportunity. Even if they wanted to invite Kang Xinmu, they could not just invite Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu followed Yu Yaji to the training ground below the office. He saw Su Ye's 16-winged heavenly demon god. Under the fierce attack of the Black Dragon, the body of the 16-winged heavenly demon god had been severely burned. A supreme expert was squatting beside Suyi in human form. This person was dressed in a black robe, and his entire person seemed to have an indescribable temperament. This temperament made this supreme expert seem incomparably powerful, and it was difficult for others to approach. This was the aura. Emperor Shi's mystical dragon also had the aura of a supreme expert. However, they were both from the Dragon God clan, so the aura of Emperor Shi's mystical dragon didn't have much pressure on Kang Xinmu. But in front of him, the aura of this supreme expert from the demon god race was extremely oppressive to Kang Xinmu. Junior Kang Xinmu greets Senior. Junior Yu Yaji greets Senior. Yu Yaji and Kang Xinmu bowed at almost the same time. Forget it. This time, I'll leave Suyi to the two of you. The voice of the supreme expert was very calm. It sounded like he was casually telling a story. It didn't bring any pressure to them, but his own aura always existed, and it wasn't something he could control. Immediately afterward, the supreme expert from the demon god race, dressed in a black robe, retreated to the side and disappeared into the space. Obviously, he didn't want to interfere with Kang Xinmu's treatment. At this moment, after the supreme expert from the demon god race disappeared, it was as if he didn't exist. His aura actually disappeared. It seemed that if he wanted the supreme expert's aura to disappear, he had to hide himself in the void. This was a supreme expert's concealment method, and it wasn't something that the current Kang Xinmu could discover. Therefore, he didn't hesitate. He directly transformed into his black dragon body and went to the side of Su Ye's 16-winged heavenly devil body. His devouring power had already condensed and emerged. He directly swallowed a demonic core that came from a void beast. This demonic core came from a supreme god-level void beast, and supreme god-level void beasts were considered very strong war beasts in the demon god race. Kang Xinmu directly swallowed this devil core. Obviously, the hidden supreme expert also knew very well where Kang Xinmu's devil core came from. There was a special relationship between Kang Xinmu and Su Yi. At this moment, after Kang Xinmu swallowed the devil core's power, the devil core turned into the purest power and flowed through Kang Xinmu's entire body. Then, this purest power was transferred by Kang Xinmu to the 16-winged heavenly devil body with his devouring power. Kang Xinmu had discovered this kind of transfer healing method a long time ago and could use it. There were almost no side effects. At this moment, when it was used, it immediately began to treat Su Ye's serious injuries, and the effect was extremely obvious. Of course, Kang Xinmu's transfer healing ability was not omnipotent. Su Ye's injuries were not light. If he wanted to treat her, it would be much more difficult than treating his own injuries of this degree. Kang Xinmu only flew back from the arena to the spectator stand to recover from his injuries. This was because he only needed to devour the power to recover himself. However, if he wanted to treat Su Yi, he still had to go through the process of transfer, so it was certain that his speed would be slow. Next, Kang Xinmu used more than a day to treat Su Yi. After a day, Su Yi finally woke up from her coma. The 16-winged heavenly devil form was removed, and she returned to a beautiful silver-haired woman wearing a black queen's robe. She fell into Kang Xinmu's arms just like that. After all, Kang Xinmu had been sticking to her 16-winged heavenly devil body and transferring power to her. Now that she had returned to her original form, she directly fell into Kang Xinmu's arms. This also surprised Kang Xinmu, but he was not too surprised. Instead, he looked at Su Ye's appearance and found that Su Yi indeed looked a bit similar to Su Yi. In front of Yu Yaji, Kang Xinmu did not ask any questions. Instead, when he saw Su Yi slowly opening her eyes, he shouted towards the void, "Senior of the demon god race, Su Ye's injuries have been completely healed. She will wake up soon." Kang Xinmu originally planned to tell the other party that he could take her away, but he did not expect that his words would not receive a response. On the contrary, after Su Yi slowly opened her eyes, Kang Xinmu's figure was reflected in her black pupils, causing her thin lips to slightly curl up. "Kang Xinmu, did you help me?" Su Yi stretched lazily in Kang Xinmu's arms and slid out of his arms. Her body was extremely agile. However, the feeling of hugging her was still there, causing Kang Xinmu to blush. Chapter 4875. I did help you, but the supreme senior of your demon god race seems to be gone. I wanted him to. Kang Xinmu shook his head and smiled. He didn't think too much about Su Yi. Su Yi might be Su Yi's elder sister or something. If something happened between them, it would be troublesome. Moreover, Kang Xinmu couldn't think too much about such things in such a situation. Su Yi looked around and realized that they were in an underground training ground. It should be somewhere in the Martial Dragon Fortress, so there was no need to worry about its safety. There was no one else in the entire training ground except for the two of them, except for Kang Xinmu. This scene now looks very ambiguous. Su Yi covered her mouth and chuckled. She looked at Kang Xinmu and said, "Your healing ability is really strong. My sister is really lucky. Alright, do you want to return to the arena with me? Have you consolidated your power?" Kang Xinmu suddenly asked. It was obvious that if Su Ye's power had not been fully consolidated, she wouldn't be able to defeat an opponent like the Black Dragon Demon even if she returned to the arena now. It was easier said than done to obtain one of the final 16 spots in the arena battle. Not yet. Why don't we spar? Su Yi was rather interested in sparring with Kang Xinmu. Before she was injured, she still saw the scene of Jiang Shenwu blasting the expert from the turtle tribe of the sea god race out of the arena. That ability was really too strong. She really wanted to know what level Kang Xinmu was at now. Was he really stronger than her? Can you show me that power that can change time? Su Yi was very curious about this. Unfortunately, Kang Xinmu shook his head and said, "We can spar. However, I can't use that power to devour time against you, because that power has a side effect. After I devour time, that part of his time will be completely lost. I don't know what it feels like, but it definitely won't be a good feeling. Moreover, it seems that there will be other side effects after your time is devoured, so I don't plan to use it on you." The biggest side effect was that one's ability to comprehend time would decrease. It wasn't obvious at the moment, but once one reached the supreme level and needed to comprehend the power of time, the side effect would appear. If he couldn't comprehend it, or if he lacked the comprehension of time, he wouldn't be able to reach the next level. At that time, if his cultivation stagnated, that would be the most tragic thing. Therefore, Kang Xinmu would never use the demonic dragon of ice and fire's ability on his own people. Right now, Su Yi could be considered one of them. Hearing Kang Xinmu's words, Su Yi could only suppress his curiosity. All right, in that case, let's practice. Have you completely consolidated your strength? Yes, I'm almost there. This time, I want to make a breakthrough before going on stage. With my current strength, I'm no longer strong enough to fight against a level 9 Emperor stage expert. Kang Xinmu nodded. Then you should make a breakthrough first. I'll protect you. When you're done, we can practice together and consolidate our strength. What do you think? Su Ye's suggestion made Kang Xinmu think about it, then he nodded. Right now, Su Yi was already at the level 9 reincarnation state, but Kang Xinmu was only at the level 7 reincarnation state. If he could break through to the level 8 reincarnation state, Kang Xinmu's strength would be even stronger, and it wouldn't affect his time conversion efficiency after devouring time. Therefore, right after that, Kang Xinmu tried to make a breakthrough in this training ground. Right now, his devouring space stored too much power, including the dragon mark's energy and the world's spiritual energy. Therefore, if he wanted to make a breakthrough, he could basically do it at any time. Most importantly, after obtaining the Heaven and Earth Holy Grade, he received too many rewards, which could completely satisfy all his cultivation needs at this stage. Right after that, a dark cloud appeared in the training ground, as well as the first reincarnation beast. Of course, when the first reincarnation beast appeared, it was directly smashed into pieces by Kang Xinmu. Smashing it into pieces with one move was nothing to Kang Xinmu. Then, the pieces of the reincarnation beast gathered in Kang Xinmu's body, allowing his reincarnation power to be refined for the first time. Right after that, the second reincarnation beast appeared. The strength of the second reincarnation beast was much stronger than the previous one. If Kang Xinmu hadn't been able to consolidate his strength, he might not have been able to defeat this reincarnation beast. However, right now, he could use his full strength to kill this second reincarnation beast. Jiang Shenwu's devouring power was completely unleashed. As he devoured the Samsara Behemoth's attacks, he attacked the Samsara Behemoth at the same time. The 9th stage Extreme Dao Cheetah Dragon Burst, a high-class divine spiritual dragon martial technique, continued to erupt. In the training ground, the second Samsara Behemoth was forced to retreat. Finally, after Kang Xinmu used the Roaring Dragon Explosion 10 times in a row, the outer layer of the reincarnation beast's defense was completely devoured by the Roaring Dragon Explosion. Then, it was blasted into pieces by the Roaring Dragon Explosion. This series of battles made Su Ye's eyes light up. Clearly, she recalled the time when she had broken through to this realm. At that time, her combat strength hadn't been this strong. However, because the grade of the demon god's inheritance blood hadn't been this high, the reincarnation beast's strength had been much weaker. At that time, it had been very difficult for her to deal with it. She had used many techniques to defeat the second reincarnation beast. However, right now, Kang Xinmu seemed to be able to deal with it easily. Of course, Kang Xinmu had also used the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal and the Phantom Ghost Book. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to defeat the reincarnation beast. When the second reincarnation beast was defeated, Kang Xinmu started to break through. He broke through from the 7th stage of the reincarnation realm to the 8th stage of the reincarnation realm. Furthermore, he had condensed the reincarnation power twice. This was equivalent to an ordinary cultivator breaking through twice. When he finally broke through, Kang Xinmu felt that he had become stronger. However, there was still a long way to go before he could defeat Murong Lieni and Huang Yun, who were top-notch experts at the 9th stage of the Martial Emperor realm. Come, let's exchange pointers and consolidate our strength. Kang Xinmu waved at Su Yi. This was the home ground of the dragon martial artists. Thus, no one could know that the two of them were sparring. Chapter 4876. In the training field, Kang Xinmu and Su Yi sparred with each other while holding back. Neither side used their heaven-grade divine dragon weapons or heaven-grade rage god demonic weapons. After all, this was just a sparring session, not a real battle. Their intention was only to consolidate their strength. Kang Xinmu was consolidating his strength after breaking through to the 8th level of the Samsara realm. This breakthrough was a little difficult, but he had destroyed the second Samsara behemoth as quickly as possible. Otherwise, he would have missed the arena battles. But now, the arena battles would last for a total of 3 days. Kang Xinmu spent a day to treat Su Ye's injuries and another half a day to break through. In the end, there was still more than a day left. Even if both sides consolidated and mastered their strength through sparring, there would still be a lot of time left. Even if it was only the last 2 hours, it was enough for them. Of course, they had to ensure that they had the strength to defeat experts like the Black Dragon Demon, Huang Yun, and Murong Lieni. Kang Xinmu and Su Yi continued sparring. In the training field, the 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial and the devouring black dragon constantly exchanged blows, erupting with endless devouring power and the power of the 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial. Kang Xinmu rather admired Su Ye's combat strength. Her combat strength was very strong, and her fighting posture was very elegant. The slender body of a 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial looked very attractive. However, the ancestral demonic consciousness constantly commented during the sparring session. Some of Su Ye's methods and the process of condensing power were still flawed. Kang Xinmu was not stingy and directly gave Su Yi pointers. One had to know what was in Kang Xinmu's consciousness. The ancestral demonic consciousness. And this ancestral demonic consciousness was the original body of a 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial. As for Su Yi, and even the entire royal family of the fiend celestial race, they were not real 16-winged heavenly fiend celestials. They had only inherited the bloodline of a 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial. So who knew more about the inheritance of a 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial? Obviously, Kang Xinmu knew better. This was also the reason why, under the guidance of the ancestor of the demon god, Kang Xinmu, with the body of the demon god of the 16-winged heavenly demon god, was able to exert a combat power that was even stronger than that of the dragon god clan. Because of the demon god ancestor's teachings, Kang Xinmu could completely unleash the full power of a 16-winged demon god. As for Su Yi and the others, although they could already control at least 80% of the inheritance of the 16-winged heavenly fiend celestial, if they had the guidance of the fiend celestial ancestor, their battle prowess would increase by at least 50%. This was a huge improvement. In the process of exchanging pointers, Kang Xinmu was not stingy in giving pointers to Su Yi. These pointers made Su Yi incomparably surprised. He did not expect that Kang Xinmu actually had such a deep understanding of the 16-winged heavenly demon god's inheritance. This simply subverted Su Ye's understanding. Then, Su Ye's eyes lit up. Obviously, the appearance of Kang Xinmu was really a great help to the demon god clan. Obviously, once all the members of the royal family could receive the help and guidance of Kang Xinmu, then the strength of the entire royal family of the demon god clan would more than double. This was too terrifying. Even, the supreme powerhouse of the demon god clan, who was hidden in the dark, also revealed his figure at this time. In the shadows, a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. Very quickly, his expression changed to one of sudden realization and enlightenment. The various things that Kang Xinmu said were integrated into the use of his own power, making him a lot stronger all of a sudden. Of course, there were not many things that Kang Xinmu said that were targeted at the Supreme Powerhouse. There was not much inspiration for the Supreme Powerhouse, but that was only because the person that Kang Xinmu was giving pointers to was Su Yi, not the Supreme Powerhouse. If Kang Xinmu specifically gave pointers to the supreme powerhouse of the royal family of the demon god clan, at least their combat strength could be rapidly improved. These were problems that the royal family of the demon god clan had studied for a long time but could not solve. Some of the inheritors of the 16-winged heavenly demon god could not maximize the speed and power of the mobilization and condensation of power, so some special methods were needed. This special method was naturally researched by the royal family, but it was not the best method. Now, what Kang Xinmu was talking about was the best method. Therefore, the things that Kang Xinmu said now made Su Yi and the supreme powerhouse of the demon god clan feel enlightened. They changed their understanding and tried according to what Kang Xinmu said. Su Yi found that her power had increased by at least 30%. This was still not the most perfect state, and this gave her even more confidence in the upcoming arena battles. As for the supreme powerhouse, there was not much improvement. After all, what Kang Xinmu said was only for the demon emperor level, but it also gave him a lot of inspiration. Maybe he could infer something useful for the supreme powerhouse. At least for the younger generation of the royal family of the demon god clan, it was very important. It could improve the overall combat strength of the younger generation of the royal family of the demon god clan. Therefore, the way that the supreme powerhouse looked at Kang Xinmu became completely different. It was a look of finding a treasure. This supreme powerhouse of the demon god clan had already regarded Kang Xinmu as a treasure. He was a very important figure to the royal family of the demon god clan. I must rope him in well. The supreme powerhouse of the demon god clan thought in his heart. Su Yi did not think so much. Although she was shocked, Su Ye's most important thoughts were on the arena battle. She had previously improved the grade of the demon god's inheritance blood essence 3 times in one go, so she needed to consolidate more power than Kang Xinmu. At this moment, after sparring with Kang Xinmu and being guided by Kang Xinmu, she found that her power was quickly and completely consolidated. After all, Kang Xinmu was now evenly matched with her, and the sparring between her and Kang Xinmu was between strangers. There was a sense of novelty and honor. After all, no one wanted to lose, and no one wanted to use more tricks. Kang Xinmu did not use the illusory ghost book and the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal, and Su Yi did not use her heaven-grade Desolate God demonic weapon. Obviously, her heaven-grade Desolate God demonic weapon was more numerous than Kang Xinmu's heaven-grade Saint Spiritual Dragon weapon, and the quality was better. After all, she came from the authentic royal family of the demon god clan. The cultivation resources she had were definitely more than Kang Xinmu. Chapter 4877. After the sparring session, both of them had improved a lot. After Kang Xinmu broke through to the 8th level of the rebirth state, a large part of his strength had not been consolidated. However, after the sparring session with Su Yi, he had already consolidated about half of it. This made Kang Xinmu much stronger. At the very least, if Jiang Shenwu were to encounter that expert from the turtle tribe of the sea god race again, he wouldn't need to attack for 5 days to break through his defense. He only needed to attack for 1 or 2 days. Of course, if he did not use the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire, he would not be a match for the turtle tribe powerhouse. The main thing was that he could not break through his defense in a short period of time. However, this was only temporary, at least when Kang Xinmu fully grasped the power of the 8th level of the rebirth state, he could use the full power of the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal to block the sea god's Tempest attack from the turtle tribe powerhouse. Even if it was an attack of that level, Kang Xinmu could face it head-on. Of course, the main thing was to use the full power of the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal. Don't forget that when Kang Xinmu bought the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal from the Treasure Pavilion, he had used it 3 times. The first time was with the Shocking Gemstone, which increased the effect of the 800 defensive battle runes within it by 50%. Then, there were 2 special times. This was an extremely wasteful move in the eyes of ordinary people. After all, although a heaven-rank holy spiritual dragon weapon was at the peak of the Dragon Emperor stage, it was nothing to a supreme god-rank cultivator. Therefore, it could be said that it was a bit of a waste to transform a heaven-grade Saint Spirit dragon weapon multiple times. Not to mention that Jiang Shenwu used the most precious materials every time he transformed the Saint Spirit dragon weapon, which could increase the power of the Saint Spirit dragon weapon to the maximum. In this battle, Kang Shenmu did not use the second and third times of the Phantom Ghost Book and the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal. This was in order to fight for one of the 16 spots in the arena battles, and even in the later elimination battles. If Kang Shenmu were to use all these methods, he would definitely be able to defeat Suyi. Of course, Suyi might also have a similar powerful origami demonic weapon. No matter what, Kang Shenmu's true combat power was much stronger than what he had shown so far, and so was Suyi. After all, Suyi was already at the 9th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. As for Kang Shenmu, he was only at the 8th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm. If he wanted to defeat people like Huang Yun and Murong Lieni, who were also at the 9th level of the Rebirth Tribulation realm, he would be at an absolute disadvantage in this aspect. Of course, Kang Shenmu had other advantages, such as the devouring power and the power of the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire. These two powers were his main trump cards. If he used them well, he could turn the tide of the battle at a critical moment. See you in the arena. I hope we can make it to the end. Suyi and Kang Shenmu looked at each other and smiled. Then, they left the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy in the Longwu Fortress. It was the supreme powerhouse of the Demon God clan. He brought them through the void and appeared at the spectator seats around the 16 arenas. He also brought Suyi and Kang Shenmu with him. He and Suyi returned to the Demon God clan, while Kang Shenmu was sent to the spectator seats of the Dragon God clan. Yu Yaji had already left. Now that she saw Kang Shenmu appear, she smiled and said, "Kang Shenmu, is everything going well?" "Yes, it feels good." Kang Shenmu smiled and nodded. "There are only 8 hours left before the arena battles end." Yu Yaji nodded and said, "Kang Shenmu, you still have 2 chances to attack the arena. In other words, you still have 1 chance to lose. Of course, you don't have to force yourself. After all, you are only at the 6th level of the Dragon Emperor. The gap between you and the 9th level is too big. It's normal that you can't win. No matter what, your performance in the arena battle this time is already very amazing." Kang Shenmu heard this and immediately shook his head. He said to Yu Yaji, "Dean, this is not my goal. I hope to be one of the last 16, and I hope to continue moving forward in the elimination battles. So, my goal this time is to be number 1. Regardless of whether I can achieve it or not, I have to do my best. Anyway, I won't die so easily. Don't you think so?" Hearing Kang Shenmu's words, Yu Yaji simply didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This boy Kang Shenmu, it really wouldn't be easy for him to die. Moreover, it was on such an arena. Last time when he was defeated by Murong Lieni of the ancient Phoenix clan, he calmly left the arena despite being seriously injured. From the start, it didn't seem like his life was in any danger. So, there was no need to worry too much about Kang Shenmu's safety. However, if he really suffered a serious injury, it would be more troublesome. For example, Kang Shenmu had experienced the same injury when he participated in the civil war between 2 Dragon Emperor countries. Of course, that was because the opponent Kang Shenmu faced at that time far surpassed his strength at that time. It was also in that battle that Kang Shenmu met Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai and became good friends with them. This kind of thing basically didn't happen anymore, because even a 9th level emperor would not be able to reach the strength of an opponent that he had faced at that time. After Kang Shenmu returned, he first greeted Xiao Bai and ran. Then, he began to observe the situation on the arena. There were about 8 hours left until the final moment. It was far from the time to attack the arena. Basically, the last hour was the time when all the major arenas would fight for the right to attack. This is the arena battle of the 9th level Emperor. It won't be as easy as before to snatch the right to attack the arena at the last moment and be the first to enter the arena. Among the 9th level Emperor practitioners, at least 30% of them have a sufficient understanding of the void power and can travel through the void. Although they may not be able to travel through the void continuously like me, I may not necessarily have an advantage in snatching the right to enter the arena. So, I still have to go up early. Anyway, I have a lot of hidden tricks up my sleeves. If I go up early, I can devour some energy to strengthen my divine dragon body's resistance. That way, the following battles will be easier. Previously, Kang Xinmu had completely crushed his opponents. However, now that he was in the 9th level Emperor stage, he had to use his strongest move. This move was not the heaven-deficient demonic dragon of ice and fire's move, as others had thought. It was his ultimate move, the power of devouring. Chapter 4878. Devouring power was Kang Xinmu's strongest technique. When he couldn't contend against his opponent, he could only display the strongest aspect of his devouring power. What was worth mentioning was that as his divine dragon inheritance blood essence in his cultivation realm continued to improve, the nature of his devouring power became stronger. His devouring speed and intensity were at least 5 times stronger than before. This allowed him to completely devour some of his opponent's attack power and turn it into his own. Moreover, it could also devour some special things, such as defensive energy barriers, and even some void energy. The chaotic heaven devouring dragon's devouring power was passed on to Kang Xinmu, allowing him to devour all kinds of energy and objects. This was Kang Xinmu's ultimate trump card. As long as the opponent's strength was similar to his, he could devour it. The only difference was his devouring speed. Therefore, even if Kang Xinmu couldn't get first place in the 9th level of the Emperor Grade Arena, he could at least get into the top 4. He needed to get this ranking. This was because only by doing so would he be able to display his value and create more benefits. Not only for himself, but also for the people around him. They, including the members of the Devouring Dragon group that had just been formed and were still growing, were especially in need of cultivation resources. It was impossible for Kang Xinmu to use the reward of the 9 heavenly engraved sacred grade to support himself and the Devouring Dragon group for the rest of his life, right? He had to obtain more cultivation resources. Therefore, he had to win, or at least get into the top 4 in order to create enough value. Kang Xinmu observed the situation in the arena for a while. He hadn't been here for almost 2 days and there were some changes in the arena. First, the Black Dragon Demon, the Demon God clan expert who had severely injured Su Yi, was no longer in the arena. It seemed that he had been defeated. However, this was normal. This was within Kang Xinmu's expectations. After all, the Black Dragon Demon didn't look like the type who could fight for long periods of time. It was impossible for him to last for so long. Then, Kang Xinmu observed the many opponents in the arena and finally decided to attack. He was going to make a move because he might not be able to seize the opportunity to enter the arena in the end, so he had to first gain a firm foothold in the arena. According to his observation and the information that Yu Yaji had just told him, he knew that there were no more than 5 experts at the same level as Murong Liani and Huang Yun in this 9th level of the Martial Emperor realm. However, those who were weaker than them, such as Shengguan Dai, Tan Shouzhua, and Chu Yueqiang, numbered in the hundreds. If he wanted to become one of the 16, he would definitely have to go through an intense fight. Kang Xinmu thought that although he couldn't compare to Murong Liani and Huang Yun, he already had a way to defeat experts at the level of Shengguan Dai, and Chu Yueqiang. As long as he was given a chance, it would be fine as long as they didn't instantly kill him. However, with Kang Xinmu's current strength, it was almost impossible for them to instantly kill him. Therefore, Kang Xinmu directly chose an arena. On that arena, there was a 1,000-winged snake clan expert at the 9th level of the Emperor stage. However, this 1,000-winged snake clan expert was currently heavily injured. He had just blasted an opponent from the Sea God clan out of the arena, and that opponent was even more heavily injured. According to Kang Xinmu's estimation of their strength, they should be slightly weaker than Shengguan Dai, and Chu Yueqiang. Therefore, Kang Xinmu decided to directly enter the arena. As it turned out, there were already people eyeing this arena. Moreover, within the blue star beehive-like defense, the body of the star divine snake expert had actually disappeared. When the void human expert launched his attack, the 1,000-winged snake clan expert had already reacted. He created a blue star beehive-like defense to confuse his opponent, and then he appeared behind the void human expert's void god totem. The 1,000-winged snake clan expert didn't show the slightest mercy. Starlight erupted from his body and condensed into the image of a huge blue python. It was like a blue star that emanated terrifying starlight. The gigantic blue python wrapped itself around the virtual human tribe's virtual god totem. Then, the starlight on it actually had some sort of disintegrating power and started to disintegrate the translucent body of the virtual human tribe's virtual god totem. The void human expert didn't even have time to use any defensive techniques before he was completely coiled up by the huge blue python and started to disintegrate. In just a moment, the void human expert's void god totem was disintegrated into pieces. So, the void human expert could only admit defeat unwillingly. Chapter 4879. He had actually failed to challenge the heavily injured 1,000-winged snake tribe powerhouse. The void human tribe was utterly humiliated. After admitting defeat, he immediately left the arena. However, he did not plan to leave the arena immediately because he still had a chance to challenge the powerhouse from the 1,000-winged snake tribe. He planned to come back and challenge the powerhouse from the 1,000-winged snake tribe again. His opponent was already heavily injured, yet he still could not defeat him. If he did not get back at him, it would be too humiliating. This was the advantage of the void human tribe. Even if the empty god totem they had condensed was destroyed, it would not affect them and would not cause them to be heavily injured. It was just that they would not be able to condense the empty god totem again in a short period of time. Kang Xinmu also had the inheritance of the void human tribe. The inheritance he cultivated was called the Clear Sky Void Luo inheritance. Although it was not comparable to the inheritance of a 16-winged heavenly demon god among the void human tribe's inheritance, it was still an extremely powerful top-notch inheritance. At the very least, it was of a higher level than the inheritance of the void human tribe in front of him. Of course, it was impossible for Kang Xinmu to use the inheritance of the void human tribe in this arena battle. After the void human tribe powerhouse admitted defeat and left the arena, Kang Xinmu, who had transformed into a black dragon, immediately entered the arena and continued to challenge the heavily injured 1,000-winged snake tribe powerhouse. The 1,000-winged snake tribe possessed the inherited power of the star divine snake, which was the power of the stars. This was a good entry point for Kang Xinmu. He had observed quite a bit. In this arena battle, there were many cultivators who used the power of the stars. He would devour some of the power of the stars first. Perhaps it would be useful in the future. After Kang Xinmu entered the arena, many people in the surroundings immediately sneered. Kang Xinmu had been easily defeated by Murong Lieni and had admitted defeat with serious injuries. Now, he actually came into the arena again? There were still 8 hours until the final moment. In that case, Kang Xinmu should not have come into the arena. He wanted to fight in the arena until the final moment. In other words, he just came up to test his strength? It seems like this so-called genius of the Dragon God tribe really does not know his own strength. In my opinion, that bastard from the Sea God clan is too useless. He was actually seriously injured by this kid. His ability to devour time is indeed terrifying. However, our patriarch said that as long as we are on guard against that ability of his, there is nothing to fear about this Kong Shinmu. Now that we know, we will absolutely not give him any chance. However, this fellow might not even be able to deal with the heavily injured thousand-winged serpent, right? Amidst the discussions of the crowd, after Kong Shinmu ascended the arena, he directly charged towards the thousand-winged snake clan's expert who possessed the star divine serpent's inheritance. The thousand-winged snake race discovered that the one in front of him was actually a black dragon. Moreover, it was said to be a very powerful existence in the dragon god race. It had participated in 2 consecutive arena battles. All of a sudden, he displayed incomparable vigilance. The power of the stars all over his body began to condense. First, it condensed into the blue star honeycomb-shaped defense barrier from before. Previously, his blue star honeycomb-shaped defense barrier was an illusion. Now that he condensed it again, the spectating practitioners all felt like laughing. It was fine to use such a method once. Even if it was Kong Shinmu, it was impossible for him to fall for it again when he clearly knew that it was an illusion, right? However, to everyone's surprise, Kong Shinmu's black dragon body did not hesitate at all. It directly swept towards the blue star honeycomb-shaped defense barrier. Kong Shinmu's entire body emitted a black devouring power. Then, he released the Divine Dragon Tyrant Body Technique's defensive stance. The Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal's defensive patterns were completely activated. Golden light shone on the outermost layer. Like a black gold divine dragon, he directly rushed towards the blue honeycomb-shaped defense barrier. Then, the devouring power began to devour the defense barrier condensed by the power of the stars. Right now, Kong Shinmu only wanted to devour the power of the stars. Why would he care if the opponent was an illusion or something else? Even if it was an illusion that contained the power of the stars. He could completely devour it and use it to strengthen his resistance against the power of the stars. So, when Kong Shinmu directly devoured the star honeycomb-shaped defense barrier, he actually discovered that it was not an illusion. Right at this moment, the thousand-winged serpent race's blue astral divine serpent appeared in front of Jiang Shenwu at the center of the astral beehive-shaped defensive barrier that had a hole devoured. He asked in surprise, "How do you know that this isn't an illusion?" "What? Illusion? I don't know. Anyway, no matter what it is, I just need to destroy it, right?" Kong Shinmu was a little speechless. He really didn't know that his opponent was actually this kind of person who played mind games. It seemed like this thousand-winged snake race's star divine snake inheritor had also used a similar defensive technique before. Moreover, it was a real defensive technique and not an illusion. In the previous battle, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse had been completely tricked by him. He didn't expect that this thousand-winged snake race fellow would actually play it for real this time. It was not an illusion. He was trying to make Kong Shinmu think that this was an illusion and then divert his attention in another direction. Then, this thousand-winged snake race fellow would launch a surprise attack on Kong Shinmu. How sinister. Unfortunately, all of this was seen through by Kong Shinmu. Or rather, it should be said that he had seen through it. He had accidentally seen through his opponent's plan and directly started to devour the opponent's star honeycomb-shaped defense barrier. This caused the thousand-winged snake race fellow to be somewhat shocked. At the same time, he was also somewhat angry. Wasn't Hu Yuhao looking down on him a little too much? Even though he was now seriously injured, he didn't want to be defeated by Kong Shinmu just like that. He was constantly on guard against Kong Shinmu using the heavenly deficient demonic ice and fire dragon's ability to attack him. Therefore, a part of his attention was diverted. The star elemental power gathered and surged toward Kong Shinmu. However, he didn't know that Kong Shinmu had no intention of using the heavenly deficient demonic ice and fire dragon's power in this battle. He knew very well that this power would not be effective once his opponent was on guard. Since that was the case, there was no need to use it. He might as well use other powers and directly kill his opponent. I've almost devoured the star elemental power. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Kang Shinmu's resistance to the star elemental power had almost reached its peak. He continuously devoured his opponent's star elemental attacks. Then, the powerful defense of the Great Compassion Heavenly Dragon Seal prevented him from suffering any damage. In that case, it's about time to throw this fellow out of the arena. Both Kang Shinmu and the thousand-winged snake race fellow were thinking the same thing. After all, he was seriously injured and the time it took for an incense stick to burn was almost up. Since he was constantly on guard against Kang Shinmu's attacks, he hadn't used his full strength to attack Kang Shinmu. Chapter 4880. The time it took to burn a stick of incense was almost up. Kang Shinmu planned to blast the thousand-winged snake clan fellow out of the arena, and he did it immediately. The thousand-winged snake clan fellow also happened to want to attack Kang Shinmu with all his might at this moment. Unfortunately, his movements were slightly slower than Kang Shinmu's. The power of Kang Shinmu's 9th stage ultimate Drake explosion had already exploded beside his opponent through the concealment of the illusory ghost book and the power of the void battle runes. At this moment, his opponent had almost no defensive power around him, because he also wanted to attack Kang Shinmu with all his might. This caused the thousand-winged snake clan star divine snake to be blasted out of the arena by Jiang Shenwu's 9-fold hydralisk explosion. Moreover, the thousand-winged snake clan star divine snake's injuries worsened, and they became extremely serious. At the same time, Kang Shinmu's resistance to the power of the star divine snake had reached its peak. Now that he had devoured the power and strengthened his resistance to the divine dragon body, it could last for an entire day. In other words, he could maintain such a strong resistance to the power of the star divine snake body until the end of the arena battle. In this state, even if he relied purely on the strength of the divine dragon body, he would be able to resist the attacks of any level 9 martial emperor realm star divine snake body. Of course, this did not include the attacks of top-notch powerhouses like Huang Yun and Murong Liani. Under such an attack, Jiang Shenwu would still be seriously injured. Therefore, he still had to use other methods to withstand it. The main thing was the additional brilliance of the Great Sorrow Heavenly Dragon Seal. After Kang Shinmu blasted the thousand-winged snake clan fellow out of the arena, the virtual human clan powerhouse from before entered the arena again, intending to challenge Kang Shinmu. Kang Shinmu, right? You defeated the thousand-winged snake clan cultivator just now. Now, your opponent is me. The virtual human clan powerhouse was very displeased. He had just lost to the thousand-winged serpent clan cultivator due to his carelessness, but immediately after that, Kang Shinmu went up the stage and blasted the thousand-winged serpent clan cultivator out of the ring. Moreover, it seemed like he didn't feel any pressure at all. Wasn't this telling others that he was no match for Kang Shinmu, who was only at the 6th level of the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Gods? Although the Turtle Tribe powerhouse from the Sea God Tribe had already suffered the most, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse still didn't believe that Kang Shinmu had the ability to defeat him. He wouldn't give Kang Shinmu any chance to use the power of devouring time. As soon as he appeared on the stage, he immediately unleashed his strongest void energy. Void Crushing Technique. This was a peak Void God martial technique. When the Void Suppression was unleashed, the Void God Totem condensed behind him. It was thousands of feet tall and emitted waves of void energy that pressed down on Kang Shinmu. At this moment, Kang Shinmu felt the void around his divine dragon body enter a state of collapse. Moreover, it began to press down on his divine dragon body. This power was extremely powerful. If this fellow had used this technique against the thousand-winged snake clan powerhouse just now, the thousand-winged snake clan powerhouse definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand it. Unfortunately, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse had fallen into the opponent's illusion trap. Now, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse was even more pitiful. As the Void Suppression moved toward Kong Shinmu, it was immediately met with the full defense of the Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal. Kong Shinmu maintained a defensive posture from head to toe. His defense had already reached the most terrifying level. At the same time, the devouring power continued to spread toward the surroundings. In the black fog, the void energy that was constantly pressing down on Kong Shinmu was completely devoured by Kong Shinmu's devouring power as soon as it got close. Then, the remaining void energy bombarded Kong Shinmu's Great Compassion Sky Dragon Seal and was directly blocked. The entire space above the arena seemed to tremble. However, Kong Shinmu's entire black dragon body remained unmoved. In other words, Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body looked a little distorted from the outside of the arena. However, that was only what people saw and not what actually happened. In reality, Kong Shinmu wasn't injured at all. The people outside could see that his divine dragon body was distorted because the attack of the Void Human Tribe powerhouse had distorted the void around him. Under such a strong attack, very few people could resist it. Even if powerhouses like Huang Yun and Murong Lieni appeared, they wouldn't be able to resist it head-on. Instead, they would choose to temporarily avoid it. However, Kong Shinmu chose to resist it head-on. His black dragon body looked a little distorted from the outside. However, in reality, he was constantly devouring the spatial attribute power around him to strengthen his divine dragon body's resistance against the void attribute power. As time passed, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse continued to attack Kong Shinmu with the void suppression technique. He was a little shocked. If he were to unleash such a terrifying attack on himself, he probably wouldn't be able to last more than 3 breaths of time. He was a cultivator who prioritized the strength of his attack. In his entire life, he had cultivated Void God martial skills with the strongest power as his top priority. Therefore, no one in the same realm as him could resist the strength of his attack. However, Kong Shinmu had resisted his void suppression technique. One had to know that he had repeatedly used the void suppression technique at least 10 times. The power of the overlapping void suppression technique was more than 10 times stronger than a single void suppression technique. However, Kong Shinmu had still resisted it. Moreover, he didn't seem to be affected at all. What he didn't know was that when his void suppression technique hit Kong Shinmu's body, most of the power was devoured by Kong Shinmu's devouring power. After Kong Shinmu devoured the void attribute power, his resistance against the void attribute power instantly became stronger. As Kong Shinmu's resistance against the void attribute power became stronger, the power of the void suppression technique basically didn't affect Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body too much. This was all because after Kong Shinmu's Great Compassion Dragon Seal was illuminated by the sky-shocking gemstone, the power of the void suppression technique was simply too terrifying. After Kong Shinmu cultivated the body-refining dragon technique, his defensive state had truly become an impenetrable fortress. However, the Void Human Tribe powerhouse didn't expect this at all. Moreover, as his void perception wasn't strong, he really didn't sense that his attack actually had no effect on Kong Shinmu. Chapter 4881. Under such circumstances, after Kong Shinmu devoured enough void attribute energy, he finally decided to throw his opponent out of the arena. Then, while the surrounding void was still being crushed, Kong Shinmu suddenly used the wind shadow flowing cloud flash. His perception of void attribute energy was a whole level higher than his opponent's. As such, his opponent was unable to stop him from escaping through the collapsing void. By the time the Void Human Tribe powerhouse realized what was happening, the ninefold Thunder Dragon explosion had already exploded behind him, sending him flying out of the arena. His empty god totem was shattered once again. This time, the empty god totem wasn't that easy to recover. Previously, it only took him an incense stick's time to condense it again. This time, it would take at least 4 to 6 hours, regardless of whether he had more chances to attack the arena or not. By the time his void god totem could condense again, it would be less than 2 hours before the final moment arrived. By then, all 16 arenas would be filled with elites. This kind of guy definitely wouldn't be able to stand firm. In other words, this guy was no longer fated to participate in the arena battles. Furthermore, this guy's performance in the 2 arena battles had been terrible. Hopefully, this guy wouldn't be traumatized by the arena battles after he went back. However, even if this guy was traumatized by the arena battles, what did it have to do with Kang Xinmu? Kang Xinmu didn't even consider this question. When he sent the virtual human tribe powerhouse flying again, the cultivators around the arena who were preparing to attack the arena all became a little nervous. Unknowingly, they realized that this young genius of the dragon gods from the 6th level of the Dragon Emperor realm was even more terrifying than many old fellows who were over 100 years old when he fought. This willpower and decision-making ability in battle was not something a simple youth could possess. However, there would still be people who would continue to challenge Kang Xinmu. After all, Kang Xinmu was only a 6th level Emperor stage expert. Could it be that so many 9th level Emperor stage experts couldn't defeat a 6th level Emperor stage expert? That would be too embarrassing for them. Or rather, wouldn't they be letting this 6th level Emperor stage kid gain too much face? They definitely couldn't let the dragon gods run wild. Unfortunately, there were a total of 7 people who challenged Kang Xinmu, and each of them had mastered 5 different elemental powers. Among them, there were lightning elemental power, fire elemental power, ice elemental power, darkness elemental power, and gale elemental power. Kang Xinmu had devoured all 5 types of energy, allowing him to reach the highest level of resistance against these 5 types of energy. This was to prepare for Kang Xinmu's final battle in the arena. As for his 7 opponents, they were all blasted out of the arena by his 9th stage ultimate flood dragon explosion. Disregarding everything else, Kang Xinmu's current strength had been continuously consolidated over the past few battles, and he had complete control over it. When he used the Voidwalker Ghost Scroll to unleash the 9 Extreme Dao Roaring Dragon explosion, his opponent had already been bombarding him for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, and was almost completely exhausted. At this moment, Kang Xinmu made his move again. His opponent was unable to resist at all and was directly thrown out of the arena. After 7 battles, Jiang Shenwu's presence on this side had even caused some people to feel a little frightened. This kid was really powerful. A mere 6th level Emperor stage martial artist was actually able to defeat 9 9th level Emperor stage martial artists in a row. It seemed that without the help of some relatively strong people, there was no way to defeat Kang Xinmu. Kang Xinmu's performance also caused the experts of the various races to whisper. This strength was too terrifying. Especially the demon gods, they shook their heads. Even Suyi probably couldn't achieve such a strong strength, right? But soon, when there were a little more than 2 hours left, Suyi also entered the arena. This time, Suyi, of the demon god race's royal family, had completely mastered and consolidated the strength that she had obtained from her previous consecutive breakthroughs. Moreover, because of Kang Xinmu's guidance, her combat strength had increased in many aspects. Although it was only in the aspects of combat strength, when all of it was combined, it increased her combat strength by at least 50%. Furthermore, she began to directly use her Desolate God demonic weapons. Just as Kang Xinmu expected, she did not have 2 Desolate God demonic weapons, but 4. Each of these 4 weapons had different functions. When she reached a very high level of compatibility with these 4 Desolate God demonic weapons, she could completely unleash the powerful strength of these 4 Desolate God demonic weapons. In just one battle, she displayed a strength that almost surpassed Kang Xinmu's. This kind of combat strength made many people of the demon god race feel incredulous. Wasn't Suyi only at the 4th level of the Emperor stage previously? How did he have the combat strength of a 9th level Emperor stage martial artist now? Moreover, there were many 9th level Emperor stage martial artists at that. If the previous Suyi was still not a match for Shengwan Dai, or when she did not use the divine dragon weapon, then the current Suyi could even fight Shengwan Dai, or with her full strength. Furthermore, she would not necessarily be at a disadvantage. This kind of improvement happened after Suyi was seriously injured by the Black Dragon Demon and then mysteriously recovered. Such a fast recovery speed inevitably made people think of Kang Xinmu. Unfortunately, no one could imagine that Kang Xinmu and Suyi actually had some communication. On this point, the Dragon God race and the Demon God race both kept it a secret. It was impossible for this kind of thing to be directly announced. Otherwise, the other races present would definitely unite and target the two races. After Suyi displayed such terrifying battle prowess in his first battle, even Huang Yun, Murong Lieni, and the other top experts were a little taken aback. They did not know how Suyi suddenly increased his combat strength by so much. The main reason was because Huang Yun was still relatively familiar with Suyi. He also had a good understanding of how strong Suyi's combat strength would be after his improvement. But now, Suyi's performance had already exceeded his expectations. In fact, it was far beyond his expectations. What exactly was going on? Wan Lu, the genius of the heavenly calamity demon god's inheritance, Huang Yun, narrowed his eyes and carefully observed Suyi's next battle. Thus, he very quickly discovered that Suyi's increase in combat strength seemed to be related to the inheritance power of the 16-winged heavenly demonic god. The inheritance power of the 16-winged heavenly demonic god that she erupted with seemed to be much stronger than before. This was also the reason why her overall combat strength had increased dramatically. But how was this possible? Chapter 4882. No one expected Suyi's battle prowess to suddenly skyrocket. All of this was beyond everyone's expectations, except for the supreme demon god expert who went with Suyi and received guidance from Kang Xinmu. Only he knew the reason. This also made the supreme demon god expert feel even better about Kang Xinmu. No matter what, Kang Xinmu had done the demon god race a great favor this time. Moreover, Kang Xinmu's strength was of great help to the entire demon god race's royal family. It was said that the 16-winged heavenly demon god ancestors' consciousness of the demon god race's royal family was following Kang Xinmu. This was only a guess among the royal family. After all, the 16-winged heavenly demon god ancestors' consciousness had not been extinguished. It had always been in the royal family's sacred relic, and it had not shown anything. It only showed that it was somewhat obedient to Suyi's instructions. Now that the sacred relic had lost the consciousness of the demon god ancestor, no one knew where it was. Only a few high-ranking members of the royal family guessed that it might be in Kang Xinmu's mind. However, Kang Xinmu was clearly not the demon god race's inheritor. It was said that Kang Xinmu also had the power of the 16-winged heavenly demon god's inheritance. This was something that many members of the royal family could not imagine. But no matter what, if this was brought by the demon god ancestor's consciousness to Kang Xinmu, then the demon god race's royal family must be respectful to Kang Xinmu. After all, facing Kang Xinmu was very similar to facing the demon god ancestor. That was the source of the 16-winged heavenly demon god's inheritance, and it determined everything for the royal family. In the past, the demon god race's royal family could not communicate with the demon god ancestor's consciousness, so they did not know that the demon god ancestor's consciousness could give them some pointers. Now that Kang Xinmu had given them pointers, if this was true, perhaps the entire demon god race's royal family must be respectful to Kang Xinmu. This guy was not a simple dragon martial artist. There were too many things hidden behind him. And this was something that the demon god royal family could not possibly reveal to others. If people knew that the dignified royal family of the demon god race, the power inherited by the 16-winged heavenly demon god, needed guidance from a boy from the dragon god race, wouldn't that make people look down on the demon god race? In the arena, Suyi continued to unleash her strongest power, even her desolate god demonic weapon was unleashed. Just as Kang Shinmu had expected, Suyi had 4 desolate god demonic weapons, and they were all existences that had shone twice. Although he didn't shine 3 times like Kang Shinmu, the total number of times he shone was 8, which was 2 times more than Kang Shinmu's 6 times. It was clear that in terms of equipment, Suyi also surpassed Kang Shinmu. What's more, she was already at the 9th level of the rebirth tribulation realm. She was already in existence at the 9th level of the reincarnation tribulation realm, so compared to Kang Shinmu, she had a huge advantage. Now, she was constantly unleashing her power, fighting against the cultivators of the various races that had ascended to her arena. Apart from the dragon god race, the other races would basically go up to try, and those who went up to try were all experts at the 3rd level of the Emperor stage. The so-called 3rd level of the Emperor stage referred to those in the 1st level like Huang Yun, Murong Liani, and Shengguan Dai, Chu Yueqiang, Black Dragon Demon, and others in the 2nd level. These experts were very strong, at least reaching the level of the Turtle Tribe expert of the Sea God race. And the Turtle Tribe expert of the Sea God race could be killed by Kang Shinmu, but that was a true trick, not true strength. If he relied on true combat power, the current Kang Shinmu would have a hard time dealing with him, unless he could use all the dazzling abilities of his heaven-level divine dragon weapon. However, there was no need to do so on the arena. Kang Shinmu planned to save some of these methods for the elimination battle to deal with the experts of the 2nd level. There were probably more than 100 experts of the 2nd level. With so many people wanting to obtain one of the final 16 spots on the arena, there would definitely be a fierce battle. Even if Kang Shinmu hadn't reached the elimination battle, he might still use some of his dazzling abilities. Of course, he wouldn't use all of his dazzling abilities. At this moment, Suyi and Kang Shinmu were both dealing with the 3rd level of the 9th level of the Emperor stage. When there was only 1 hour left, the 3rd level of the 9th level of the Emperor stage finally didn't dare to attack them. And as the time was almost up, finally, a 2nd level of the 9th level of the Emperor stage expert ascended to Kang Shinmu and Su Ye's arena. On Kang Shinmu's side, he was directly facing the demon god clan expert who had previously injured Su Yi, the Black Dragon Demon's inheritor. This Black Dragon Demon's inheritor's strength was extremely terrifying, even reaching the level of Shengguan Dai, and Chu Yueqiang. It was an elite peak 9th level Emperor stage expert, second only to Huang Yun and Murong Liani. Huang Yun, Murong Liani, and the other 3 peak 9th level Emperor stage experts all had the combat strength of a super divine dragon. And just below the 5 of them were Shengguan Dai, Chu Yueqiang, Tan Shoujua, and more than 100 other peak 9th level Emperor stage experts. Simply put, Gu Xinyue was also in existence on the same level as Huang Yun and Murong Liani. And Kang Shinmu's current combat strength was about the same as Shengguan Dai, and the rest of the 2nd level. If Kang Shinmu's divine dragon inheritance blood essence could achieve another breakthrough, then it was very likely that he could reach the level of Gu Xinyue, Huang Yun, and Murong Liani. Of course, there was no need to think about it now. Kang Shinmu had to first defeat the opponent in front of him, this Black Dragon Demon's inheritor, a 2nd-level genius from the Demon God tribe. This Black Dragon Demon's combat strength was very strong, and it was savage. It did not hold back against Su Yi, and directly injured Su Yi. Therefore, Kang Shinmu did not dare to be careless. He planned to use some kind of dazzling ability already. At this moment, the Black Dragon Demon stepped onto the stage that Kang Shinmu was on. It had transformed into a Black Dragon Demon, and its entire body emitted a pitch-black hue. This pitch-black hue was the power of the darkness attribute. To Kang Xinmu, he had already absorbed enough of this darkness attribute energy in the previous battles. His defense was very strong, but he still could not underestimate this black dragon demon's inheritor. The pitch-black hue, the darkness attribute energy, under the black dragon demon's control, turned into countless black dragon claws, and surged towards Kang Xinmu. In just a moment, the entire stage was filled with countless black dragon claws. This was the method that he used to injure Su Yi, and its offensive power was extremely terrifying.